Good evening to one and all. At the outset, I am very grateful and thankful to the all the like coordinator, one from our own friend fraternity, and who is there as a regional office in charge in Dubai. Prabdeep ji remains as a coordinator for the program. The guest speaker of the day, like though I would have in the very first stage would have given a respect to the guest speaker, but naturally coordination also matters. So our guest speaker of the day is Maitri Swaminathan, who happens to be and traveled a journey with the corporates in the multinational culture and brought so many good things as a name and fame for as a professional fraternity members with the Fortune 500 companies also with us. Maitri, it's really been great to have with you as a guest speaker and the faculty of the day. Friends, Nirlep ji really been a kind enough all the time to support this committee for getting us so many good of the faculty, guiding us in its own manner so that we can give the best to our fraternity members, younger ones, more particularly those who have to start their career or rather really move forward in a manner so that they strengthen themselves over a every day they have to get something new. Nirlep Bhai has really been kind enough to be a sportive hand with this committee all through
Recording has started.
EDP also and this also. And my secretary of the committee, Ranganathan ji, very effectively organizing this program, the second on the row as a EDP program for the young chartered accountants, recently qualified. Earlier we did for the programs, those who qualified in the month of January. Now, this November, those who have qualified in the month of November 2020, they are with us. The most learned and effective, the co-chairman with me, Durgesh Kabraji, though I have given his name in the last only because of the certain reasons, because we and him are really duty bound to take this committee's responsibilities, because this is the only committee which are directly connected with the member in industry and business and really making a great go with the speed and accuracy, though we try to do our best, but the support is from the external and the internal teams. So this is the second EDP program in the row. Going forward, you see like this 6 days EDP program is with a purpose, with an objective to strengthen our younger members, those who have to travel their journey and they have to achieve the heights, they have to reach to the leadership position in the time to come, maybe 20 years or 25 years, or maybe number of years, whatsoever the speed and accuracy of they themselves matters with. So friends, this program is being originated and designed in a manner so that we ourselves strengthen or this with the support of the faculties and the guidance from the different faculties all across, we strengthen ourselves in a manner so that it is not only the technical skill but the soft skill, whether it is technologies with us or the tips and tricks for the success of the future, how to strengthen our careers, strengthen our future, so that the understanding has to be very clear. Today we will be having words from the Maitri Swaminathan. She has the exposure with the corporates, and most of the participants are from the corporate worlds, and the same way in the time to come we'll be getting advantage. Today also we'll be having another speaker, CA Anand, who hails from the Bangalore, who will be talking about the technology, whether it is the machine learning or the artificial intelligence or the blockchain. That will be the day's program. But in the time to come, in the second day, Sunday, we will be having Amit Arora ji and Silpa Tiwari, who the corporate journey as well as the A to F of the first job. Most of you may be in the very first job because you qualified in the month of December exam, so you got results in sometime in the month of February, and naturally it may be most of them this will be the first job. How to keep yourself like stability in your mind, because in the time things disturbs also. but parameters of the stable mind definitely gives you the longevity, long term. And same way in the time to come, Adil Buhari Wala ji, Aswani Savarkar ji, Ram Mohan Rai ji, Rajiv Saha also, Sujit Sukur Raman also, and Anis Mehta, our friends from the Dubai also, he'll be also taking care of the panel discussion with other panelists, Padmanabhan Jayasankar, Shekhar Nautiyal ji, Baljit Kalivarna ji, and same time we'll be getting Gopal Balasubramanian ji, Jaiprakash Agarwal ji, Rajiv Hira ji, Sujit Guttar ji, and the other Preeti Singhal ji also. So these will be the speakers in the time to come. But we all have to understand with the so many things has to be created and crafted by oneself only. But it is the guidance which has to be taken care of. The rest of the things, if we really understand, the creation and the crafting is by oneself. That is the first motto. And if one has understood with these parameters, so then life will be easy for you, for your growth also, for your success also. And it is not understanding of the technical skills. It is the optimization of the technical skill for the value addition at the corporate wherever you are working with. The value addition has to be there and execution has to be so effective so that it is being optimally utilized. And it is well said that there are the 4 pillars for the life, whether it is the physical strength, whether it is the mental strength, whether it is the intellectual strength or the spiritual strength we talk about. These are not, spiritual does not mean you have to be some guru or something. Spiritual means you have to connect with the others. It is not oneself, one is enough. There are the people around you, you have to take them along, you have to get the things from them also, and you have to work along with them also at a different projects. So that is basically connecting with the others or remaining with the others and getting along with the others is a strength of the team. So these kind of understanding has to be there for the good life, good journey, good success tips. So these are the general points to be taken care of. I, on my own behalf of my co-chairman Durgesh Kabraji and team there at the committee, I welcome each and every participants and each and every contributor as a faculty or the as a different contribution for this committee. I welcome each one of you. Now I would like to request my co-chairman Durgesh Kabraji for his words for the fraternity and for the participants. Over to Durgesh Bhai.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. It's indeed my pleasure to address all the young buddies who have recently passed and either joined somewhere or looking after some of the job. And I'm sure that they are going to be the future of the professions. I welcome all of them, including today's session taker, Maitreyi Swaminathan, Chairman from Doha, Chapter Nilep Bhatt, Prabdeep Singh, and our Secretary, G. Ranganathan ji. It's when all structures have been discussed by our Chairman, sir, and how this particular program is going to give you the best. I think that you will come to know only after once this 6 days course is completed. And that has come in the mind of our chairman, sir. Let us try to build the capacity of all young members who are joining the industry or who have already joined the industry in last 5 to 6 years. How we can give them the best. Technically they are very sound, but somewhere I feel or we feel that we are lacking in some of the skills which are needed today for the purpose of presentation, for the purpose of communication, for the purpose of some other things, and we lag behind into it. And just to overcome those kind of fear we are having these kind of programs. Today, the first session will be of Maitreyi. She'll be dealing with the tips and tricks of future success. And I thought I should also share some of the things about the success. And let me tell you, friends, she's going to talk on the future success. But let me tell you that success is a journey and not a destination. You need to be a part of this journey. It is often said that success occurs when preparation meets opportunity. Now, opportunities will undoubtedly present themselves with time, but how are you treating yourself through all the time spent in preparation for accomplishing your goal in the meantime? That is important. The key question which you need to asking is always keep asking yourself, are you spending your time on the right things? Or the time is all you have today, and you may find one day that you have less than you think. Are you giving yourself credit for the work and the energy that it takes to become a more successful individual? So you have to think over it. A major aspect of the success equation has to do with being good to yourself. That is most important. Treating yourself with kindness and encouragement along with your life journey. It's important to celebrate all victories, large and small, on the journey towards fulfilling your dreams. It all begins with recognizing that you are successful individual right now, and your success can only be up from here. Guys and girls who have joined today, simply having the determination to pursue your happiness, your goals, and your dreams is a massive success in itself. It takes an incredible amount of courage to wake up every morning and keep moving and keep motivating yourself to work towards the life that you have always imagined living. The preparation part of success equation, your journey should be celebrated for success. For success is not simply a destination. Success is not something that we arrive one day. Success has everything to do with your individual day-to-day choice, actions, and experiences, no matter how big or how small they are. That is important, right? Success has to do with being true to who you are and how you choose to respond to every circumstances that occurs in your life. You know you are on the right track when you have no interest in seeing back. Remember that feeling successful has much to do with how you personally define success. Ask yourself, how do you define success? For example, do you define success as having more in your life, more money, more recognition, more material items? Or do you define success according to other people's standards? Or do you define success as feeling happy with who you are, being happy with your choices, being grateful for all that you have in your life today? And to shift your focus from thinking of success as being something that is always out of your reach or something which involves constantly wanting or needing more or keeping up with the other people. That is important. So let me repeat once again that something which involves constantly wanting or needing more, you have to keep yourself away from this and focus instead on being grateful and happy for who you are and what you are right now. And there is so much to be grateful for, isn't there. Whatever it is you might be going through right now, regardless of how challenging it may be, there is always much to be thankful for. So, even in this testing time, you have to think in that direction, that this time will also go and there is much more for us to be thankful for. Be grateful for who you are and fully appreciate your individuality and all that you have in your life now. Do the very best that you can with what you have now, and while at the same time striving towards becoming an even better version of yourself than you were yesterday. Have faith and always believe that you will achieve anything you set out to do. You will achieve that goal. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. There is a huge difference between a dog that is going to eat in your mind and actual dog that's going to eat you. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on being what you love. That is important, right? The biggest motivator is yourself. Yourself. The day your inner self is awakened towards any goal, nobody can stop you from reaching to that particular goal. You will achieve that one. My belief is that luck favors those who have the patience to win. This is my belief. Luck only favors to those who have patience to win. If you don't have the patience to win, then in all directions there are only excuses. Excuses. You are a miracle, my dear friends. There are no one else out there like you. Start to you yourself and your world today being miraculous, and trust that you will create anything you set out to do. Albert Einstein said, there are only two ways to live your life. One is, though nothing is miracle. One is, though nothing is miracle. The other is, though everything is a miracle. How do you want to live your life? I leave this thought before all of you. You have to choose that in what way you want to achieve the success. With this, I thank you all, friends, for giving me a patient listening, and I wish that all the success are in your ways. The success is waiting. It is in your path. The important thing is you have to make your own path. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Durgesh bhai. Such a wonderful leadership lesson, or the lesson you have brought for the success. Though success is always called, it is inevitable as the sunrise, but it has to be from the inner strength as well as the support from the outside also, from the others also. So, friends, we have Nirlep Bhatt ji, a leader from our Kuwait. Now I'll request him to share his
Doha,
words.
leader from Doha.
Leader from Doha. Acha, I said Kuwait. Acha, leader from Doha. So, Nirlep ji, over to you. Then coordinator will take over charge for the further proceeding. Over to you, Nirlep bhai.
Also welcome the second speaker, Anand Jangir ji, the expert of technology and building the skill of all the chartered accountants in the technology area.
Pleasure, sir.
Welcome.
Pleasure all mine, sir.
Welcome, Anand bhai. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
You will enjoy the session of Anand Bhai because I know, because I have attended his class. I was part of FAFD course and I enjoyed that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
So, thank you, Ansaraj Chuk, sir. So, respected Chairman of the Committee of CM and IB, Ansaraj Chuk, sir, Vice Chairman Durgesh Kabra, sir, Speaker of the day, first Speaker of the day, Maitreyi Madam, and our dear colleagues and senior well-wisher Anand Prakash, sir, Regional Director, Middle East and Africa, CA Prabdim Singh Baveja, and the person behind all the event and logistic coordination, Ranganathan ji. Greetings to all of you from this very vibrant and prosperous country, Qatar. First of all, it's my privilege to address to all the young friends under the esteemed leadership of the Committee of Members in Industry and Business. What I actually appreciate and I actually learned from this whole idea is that it's extremely well conceived idea of Hansraj Chuk sir and Durgesh Kabra sir and ICAI leadership also. And we can see the difference because I had a privilege to organize and contribute a bit to in the first such an event also. And when I received the feedbacks, it was marvelous. It was remarkable. All the young friends were not only appreciated idea, but they themselves could feel the visible and tangible change and the difference due to this event. And I must applaud and laud the galaxy of the speakers, the best amongst the best speakers, which has been sourced by Committee of Members in Industry and Business and Prabdeep ji and all others. So it's a privilege to contribute to this whole initiative and make a humble attempt to make a difference in the lives of young professionals. In fact, some of the speakers went on to saying that, young professionals are quite fortunate nowadays that they are getting such a platform, such a forum. We were not so fortunate. So they were, in fact, jealous of them. And I consider myself also into it. Although I am also young, but still that feeling is always there. So the credit goes to the ICAI leadership, President Sir, Vice President Sir, and CMIB Chair, Hansraj ji and Durgesh Kabra ji. My just one word of appeal to the young professional is only that whatever we learn in this 6 days event, whatever we learned and listened from these esteemed speakers, let's not leave it as it is. Consciously and with some efforts, if we try to apply this learning into day-to-day professional life, and I'm sure that sooner than the later, definitely, as I said, the real and tangible benefit the young professional, all of you will be able to fetch. And I also draw an inspiration from, I was listening Hansraj Chuk sir, who said that, merely getting clear the exam is not enough. But what is more important is also how is your physical health, mental health, intellectual health, and spiritual health. Durgesh Kabra sir went on to say that what is success according to you? So very igniting question, isn't it? I will also think that what is the success according to me? And then we'll keep on achieving the goals and push on the boundaries. I don't want to come between the young friends and esteemed speakers, Ms. Maitreyi, and it's always good to see Anand Prakash Jangir, extremely learned and very, very engaging speakers like all other speakers. So over to you, Ranganathan ji. Prabdeep ji. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chuk sir.
Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you, sir. I think we can begin with the session, sir, with the permission of the chairman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pradeep ji, you can take it over.
Thank you.
Yes, Pradeep ji, we are not able to listen. You can start.
Yes. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Respected Hansraj Chuk, sir, Chairman, CMIB, respected Durgesh Kabra, sir, Vice Chairman, CMIB, our speakers of the day, CMI3, Swaminathan, CA Anand Prakash Dhangir, Chairman, Doha Chapter, CA Nirlip, Secretary, CMIB Committee, Ranganathan, Mr. Ranganathan ji. We are very fortunate to have you all here as a participants, and allow me to welcome our first speaker with a brief introduction. CA Maitri Swaminathan is an accounting professional with 24 years of experience in financial planning and analysis, project and general accounting with a focus on energy and construction industries. She is working as a regional financial controller for Asia Pacific region in Flo Daniel, based at Gurgaon. She qualified as a chartered accountant in the year 1997 and was a rank holder in both intermediate, 38th rank holder in intermediate and 25th rank holder in CA final. She stood third place in NIRC, and in December 1997 she qualified as a company secretary with achieving silver medal and All India rank holder in inter and final both. She also got the best participant award in SMTP. She had done Bachelor of Commerce honors in 1994 from Indraprasth College for Women in New Delhi. She has successfully executed process transitions to India, focused on improving finance operations, process efficiency, and cost reduction. She has great ability to drive process automation. She has a strong leadership experience on domestic and international assignments ranging from process transitions to evaluating complex merger proposals. She has demonstrated team leadership skills, including remote teams. So please give a big virtual round of applause to CA Maitri Swaminathan for the first session, and then followed by a second session by CA Anand Prakash Dhangir. So CA Maitri, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prabdeep. I'd like to thank the chairman, Mr. Hansraj Chugh. I'd like to thank the vice chairman, Mr. Durgesh Kabra, Mr. Ranganathan, everyone for this opportunity to address the young chartered accountants. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd like to begin first by congratulating all of you for qualifying as chartered accountants. Welcome to the profession. And by clearing the exams for CA, this session is basically tips and tricks for future success. But the very fact that you have cleared your chartered accountancy examination and the tough benchmarks that have been set for qualifying as a chartered accountant prove that you already possess many qualities that are required for success. In order to clear the CA exams, we all know there is a high level of diligence and hard work that is required. You've proved that you're capable of that. Keen understanding of concepts, your technical prowess, your ability to multitask, all of these are, well established by the very fact that you have cleared your CA examinations. So pat your backs, and hopefully during this session, we are able to learn a few more things about what could poise you for future success. So I'm going to try and share with you today my own journey as a chartered accountant, going back to when I was a freshly qualified CA way back in 1997. And what are the things that I have learned over all these years? I have undoubtedly made mistakes. I have learned from them and grown over the years. And I hope you will benefit from my experience. I have always said that mistakes are not a bad thing. Only people who work make mistakes. If you don't work, you're not going to make any mistakes at all. So a person who's not made any mistakes in their career obviously hasn't worked at all. So that has always been my attitude, that a mistake is an opportunity to learn. But of course, back in our times, like Mr. Nilesh Bhatt said, we did not have these orientation sessions. And it's really it's really nice that the Institute is organizing these orientation sessions for the freshly qualified CAs, because now you have an opportunity to learn from people who've made mistakes and perhaps have the chance not to repeat what we've done. Make your own mistakes, make new ones, but maybe not repeat the ones that we've made in the past. So with that said, I'd like to jump straight into what we are going to discuss today about tips and tricks for future success. And like Mr. Kabra just mentioned, our Vice Chairman, that what is success? That is your own personal definition of what you believe is important to you in life. Understand yourself, understand what is your definition for success. And each one of us is special and different and unique. So what is your definition of success? I will leave that as a thought that Mr. Kabra has seeded in all of you. Think of it. What is your definition of success? Strive towards that. But in terms of what is corporate success, and corporate success in general parlance has a certain definition. So I will try to share with you things that have helped me over the years trying to grow in various different organizations. So let me try and share my screen. I had made a very brief presentation, though the presentation has lesser material, but it'll just give us something to look at. So hopefully you're able to see my screen now. And to begin with,
Yes.
Yeah,
It's visible.
so thank you. So what I'd like to talk about first is professionalism. So we all call ourselves professionals. We are chartered accountants. And the important lesson that I learned is we have to be professional today and forever. So what does that mean? What does professionalism mean? So let me take you back to 1997 when I was giving my exams. We had only 15 accounting standards. Believe it or not, only 15 accounting standards that we had to learn. So I'm sure you're all thinking how lucky we were, or maybe how little we knew before we had to become a chartered accountant. But back then, that's all there was. There was only 15 accounting standards, and that's all we needed to learn. But over the years, now there are 39 accounting standards. And if, people of my age and time, and I'm sure you'll all have, before you know it, blink of an eye, you will have 20 years experience under your wings. When you have that kind of experience, it's important to move with the times. It's important to learn whatever new developments are there in your profession, and to keep in touch with the profession. So, as the controller of my organization, I need to attest to my financial statements. How do I attest to financial statements if I'm not up to date with the developments in accounting? So as a professional, if I have to be a professional forever, I need to be in touch with whatever has changed, whatever developments are there. Give you another example. Back when I qualified in 1997, service tax was a very nascent law. It was introduced by the Finance Act of 1994. Service tax no longer exists in India today. It's been subsumed by GST. And the GST law was very recent, a few years back when it was introduced. Plus, every month now we've got the GST Council sitting down and coming out with new notifications, new developments on the GST that's happening every day. And in order to run the organization, I need to be up to date with the GST law. There is no way that, professionals like you and I can operate if we are not in touch with this. We can go on and on this subject. Transfer pricing law in India was introduced, I think, sometime in 2000. And today, working in a multinational, it's one of the most important aspects that I need to consider for every transaction with my global counterparts, because those global counterparts are associated enterprises. So if I say this law wasn't there when I learned and I don't know about it, that's not an acceptable answer, because I'm a professional and I am expected to be in touch with the updates in my field. What I would say that in order to be a professional, keep learning, keep growing, keep learning, stay in touch. The Institute is constantly organizing CPE hours programs, wonderful programs that are there, which keep us in touch with latest developments. Please log on to these. There is a reason why we need to update ourselves and attend CPE hours program. Please stay in touch. read the Institute journal. It comes out with wonderful articles by top-notch professionals. It's your opportunity to be in touch with the thoughts, with the mindset of these top-notch professionals. So I would say, it is very, very important to keep learning, to be in touch with your profession in order to say that I am a chartered accountant, so that you never have to say I was a chartered accountant. If we don't stay in touch, possibly that's what could happen to us. So this is one of the most important things to being a professional today and forever. The other thing is, what I would say is, hard work. Hard work is one of the most important things. There's a Canadian author by the name of Malcolm Gladwell. He's written a book called The Tipping Point, about how little things can make a big difference. And what he says is, one of the most important things for professional success, and as important as talent, is hard work. So even though some of us may be very, very talented, if the hard work to back up that talent is not there, then that is not a recipe for success. So hard work is just as important as having talent. I know all of you are very, very, very talented. And that is the reason why you've got to where you are. And we are all members of the CA Institute today on account of that talent. But the talent alone is not enough. Please ensure that we put in the hard work in wherever we are. There is no substitute for hard work. That's where we get to the 10,000 hour rule. You might have heard of the 10,000 hour rule, where you might have heard it in the context of sports. So any sportsman who is playing in the international or the national arena follows the 10,000 hour rule, where if you invest 10,000 hours in any specialty, then you are bound to be successful in it. Your moves are bound to be very, very smooth. You are known to be the expert in that domain. So if you read interviews with Novak Djokovic in tennis, he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. Andre Agassi talks about it. Any of these sportsmen talk about it. Similarly, as aviation pilots, the 10,000 hour rule is very important. Aviation pilots with 10,000 hours of flying are considered absolutely top-notch aviation experts. And that is equally true and certainly true for chartered accountants as a profession. So 10,000 hours in whatever field of expertise you choose. And as a chartered accountant, there's a whole plethora of fields out there for you to choose from. You could become a taxation expert. You could look into planning and analysis. You could look into finalizing your books. You could look into a certain specialized area of indirect taxation or law, and so on and so forth. I know you're all aware of all the arenas that are available to you. But once you spend 10,000 hours on it, on your first job, and there would be some area that's allocated to you. What I would like you to think about is 40 hours a week, and we work on an average 50 weeks a year, assuming 2 weeks for leave. That equals to 2,000 hours of practice on our job every year, which means 5 years from now, you are going to be the experts of the field that you are setting your heart on today. 5 years. And trust me, 5 years flies by. I can't believe I've been in this field for 24 years now. 24 years has flown past. So trust me, 5 years is going to fly by, and you're going to be experts in your domain 5 years from now. So learn all you can about your domain. It's not possible to learn everything, but there is a certain area that your job will allow you to learn. In that area, invest your everything in it. Reach out to others in that sphere in other companies. Reach out globally. Reach out, read more. Because every company operates in a slightly different manner. The more you can learn about the area that you're involved in, the more of an expert, the more of a hold you have, more of a grasp on your subject that you will have. So the next 5 years of whatever you're doing now, invest thoroughly in it. To be able to say 5 years from now that I am an expert on whatever subject it is within the specialization as a chartered accountant. So that is my very important tip to you, that as a professional, invest in the area that you are given an opportunity to learn by your organization. Apart from this, professionalism is not really the job you do, it's how you do the job. So professionalism is a quality. It's not just about the knowledge. Knowledge is certainly one part of it. We are all professionals today, professional chartered accountants. But professionalism is a quality. It's a quality that you have to imbibe in every step of the way. So I'll share with you a story by Shiv Khera. And Shiv Khera is, of course, a renowned motivational speaker. But he talks about when he took a taxi in Singapore. And he was watching the meter of the taxi. The meter of the taxi said $11 when he reached his destination. So he took out $11 from his wallet and handed it over to the taxi driver. The taxi driver said, "No, sir, I will take $10 from you." Sir, I did not know the route. I took you through a longer route, sir. If I had known the route, if I had known my job, I can only take $10 from you, sir. And as a taxi driver, I am the first representative of my country, Singapore, in front of you. If I'm not honest with you, what impression will you have of Singapore? So I can only take $10 from you. That's what the taxi driver told Shiv Khera. And just think what a powerful statement that is. As a first-time traveler to Singapore, Shiv Khera had no idea if that taxi ride would cost $10 or $11. He was ready to pay $11. But just imagine what a powerful statement that taxi driver made, saying, as the first point of contact in Singapore, I am your ambassador, I am your tour guide, I am your first impression of the country. And unless I am honest with you, what impression will you carry of my country? So I think that is where we need to understand we have to take pride in our jobs. Whatever it is we are doing because the organization considers that it is a very, very important task. So we have to take pride in our tasks. We have to do it to the best of our ability. That is what professionalism is about. I'll share with you a story that happened with me a few years back. I was applying for a loan in a bank and I was sitting in the bank. And the officer I was sitting in front of was supposed to verify signatures on a form. And at the time that my form was in front of me, he got a call. So he was attending to the call and he was signing off the papers at the same time. And he just put a circle around my signature and signed off. And the signature on my identity card was a signature that I used to use prior to my marriage. And the signature that I had made on the form was a different one that I had changed after my marriage. He did not check it. He put a circle, he signed off on it, and he did it. And I was thinking that, does this person even know how important his job is? It is based on his signature verification that the bank is putting its money in the customer's name and is lending money to the customer. But the individual is not taking pride in his job. In his mind, his job description is, I need to put a circle on the signature and sign off. His job description is not that I am the gatekeeper for the bank and it is based on my verification that the bank is releasing funds to people. I have to make sure that I do my job very well. So it was a great eye-opening moment for me to think that taking pride in your job is so important. Understanding that the company is not paying salaries to individuals for unimportant tasks. The company is paying salary to every individual because their role is critical and key to the success of the organization. So please sit back, think that why is the company given me employment and what is the key role that I'm playing, and take pride in that and understand that our roles are very, very important to the organization. I want you to understand that. I want each of us to take pride and utmost pride in every task that we do and treat it as the task of our team. So that said, I'd also like to touch upon one thing that, some of us start moving on this holy grail of seeking perfectionism. Doing our job well is one thing, but to be perfectionist and to delay our outputs is also not acceptable. There is a timeline and every activity is time bound. And we have to complete every task that we do within the timelines allotted to the task. And therefore, as a professional, there is a fine balance between perfectionism and timeliness of the task. So I think it's very important that we understand and we balance all these aspects. It's also very important to be respectful to others. The organization consists of a wide variety of people, and we need to be respectful to one and all in the organization. This is a very, very important aspect of professionalism. Today, we are privileged and we have to be grateful. Like Mr. Kabra said, the gratitude is very important. It's the most important attribute that we need to try and imbibe. We need to be grateful. We've been given a lot of opportunities. We've had the ability to pursue a course of our choice to become chartered accountants, to spend the time on education. Not everybody is so privileged and is so has the abilities and the means to spend time to acquire a professional degree. But certainly there are all kinds of people in an organization who need to be respectful towards one another. And apart from that, there is the need for appropriateness of what to say, when to say it, what to wear, how to dress. All of these are very, very important. In these days of work from home, I know all of us are not perfectly dressed. Many times I'm in my t-shirt for meetings. But understand, who is the meeting with? If the meeting is an internal meeting, it's all right to be in t-shirts. It's all right to be casually dressed. But if the meeting is important, it is with clients, it's with auditors, it's with important people. Like today is a very important meeting for me. I'm meeting with young chartered accountants, which is so important for me. So it is occasions like this where we need to have the appropriate dress code, have the appropriate choice of words. All of this is important. Professionalism embraces all of these qualities, and we need to make sure that we, as representatives of our organization, representatives of our institute, are always appropriate, always professional today and forever. So that was the first topic that I wanted to touch on, appropriateness. The next one is about working smart. We just spoke about hard work and how hard work is very, very important, the 10,000-hour rule. I'm now just going to debunk the theory of hard work, and I'm going to talk about how working hard is important, but working smart is even more important. We've got Mr. Anand Jangir, who's going to be talking to you about much of this technology that has changed, blockchain and so on and so forth. But I just want to touch upon this very briefly with you because it is very, 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 very important. While technology is changing, we all need to embrace the new technology. Unless we embrace the changing technology, we're going to be left behind. To give you an example of how hard work is important, but smart work is even more important. Way back when I was doing my audit, I think this must have been 95 or 96, there was a client we were sitting with, and the client was explaining to us how he does not have too much respect for auditors. So I said, what do you mean you don't have respect for auditors? So he says, you know what, madam, the previous team of auditors who came, I changed the columns on a particular spreadsheet that they were auditing. I took out a different printout of it, which looked a little different. And they audited the original against the other printout, and they were very happy with the audit. So that's where it is so important to be smart about the work you do. So the team was doing a lot of hard work, taking off a photocopy in a different format against the original. But that's not what the objective is. We about the work that we do. The world is changing, and wherever there is repeat task, there is an ability to automate these tasks. And over the course of my career, there have been multiple opportunities to automate. I can share that, way back, my first job was with Indian Oil, and I was there for 10 years. And my first job was to make payments for foreign exchange imports. There were a lot of imports that were happening then. We were constructing one refinery and 2 pipelines. And we were importing a lot of components for these refinery and pipelines. So the import payments used to be settled through letters of credit with the bank. And the letters of credit had a standard format and had to be sort of printed out on stamp paper, submitted to the bank. At the same time, the accounting entries for it had to be done, all based on a set of data that what is the purchase order for the import payment, how much is the amount that is to be paid. Some of the payments were in dollars and some were in various European currencies. Back then the euro was not there, so we would pay in lira, French francs, pound sterling, so on and so forth. So the currency, the amount that had to be paid, whether it was a site LC or a usance LC, what were the clearing and forward, what was the clearing terms, what was the shipping terms, all of that had to find its way into the letter of credit and also formed an important part of our accounting documentation. So there was multiple repeat of this information, and in a particular day, we would have to make 20 to 30 LCs. So we kind of automated it back then, way back, we had mail merge and things like, I'm sure these are sounding very alien to you. We had database to put in the data. We would feed in the data once, and the same data would be used for accounting as well as making the Word document, which would go into the letter of credit. And that improved our efficiency such a lot that 30 LCs would usually take the whole day and checking it and making sure it was right. And there were many times that we would waste stamp papers. But once we had automated the process, all we had to do was check the database, and then after that, there would never be any errors. So automation was something that I learned way back that, it improves process efficiency, it reduces any errors, and it helps us focus our time and energy on things that need the time and energy rather than on repetitive tasks. So what I would suggest is any task that you're doing, if it involves repeat processes, think of how you can automate it. There is a definite benefit to that automation. I will now talk about Industrial Revolution 4.2. We are in the age of IR 4.2. What is IR 4.2? We had the first industrial revolution where processes, steam engine was introduced, and it was the era of mechanization. After that came mass production, assembly production. That was the second industrial revolution. And with each industrial revolution, the way of doing work changed dramatically. The skills that were required by the industries changed dramatically. The first industrial revolution, mechanization. So it meant that manual processes were replaced by mechanized processes. So people who understood these mechanized processes, engineers, workers in the factories, these became very important. The second industrial revolution was mass production. Things started getting mass produced. So that was specialization, where one person would do one task repeatedly and therefore move things down an assembly line. So the nature of what skills a person brought to the workplace changed drastically in the second industrial revolution. Third industrial revolution was digital technology, where knowing how to use a computer was important. Now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. It is the era of cloud computing. It is the era of Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, computing power, and the power of data. How you can harness the power of large data and make decisions based on large data. And this is going to change the way that we function and the skills that are required at the workplace dramatically. There are study papers that say that by 2024, most jobs as we know now are going to be redundant. And that is because the way of working through Internet of Things, through artificial intelligence and so on is going to be dramatically different from how we are used to doing things. So it's very important for us as professionals to stay in touch with technology as it's changing and to be able to adapt to the new technology, to be able to kind of modify our skills so that they are in line with the needs of the times. So COVID-19, and we are all going through it, and I know it has had a great impact on all of us in a great way. But COVID-19 has been what is described as a black swan event, and there are of course debates on whether it is really a black swan event or not. But the author of this term, Nassim Taleb, says that a black swan event is one that is impossible to predict, an event that is extremely rare, and that has catastrophic consequences. The COVID-19 meets all these criteria. And what that has done is IR 4.0 has got even more accelerated. So where earlier studies spoke of IR 4.0 coming in 2024, it has got even more accelerated because with people working from home, with the way that technology has had to really strengthen in the last year, the possibility that IR 4.0 will come earlier is there now. So with all this, what does it mean for us as accountants? What it means for us as accountants is that there are unbound opportunities. I would say there are so many opportunities for anybody who acquires these new knowledge in these cyber-physical systems. So I would encourage all of you to stay in touch with the changing technologies, to embrace and adapt to them, and to constantly figure out what it is that is changing and how can you learn about these new technologies, stay in touch with them. And I know that Mr. Anand Jangir is going to talk about a lot of these new technologies. And I would encourage you to open up your minds to this technology in the next session that is coming up and seek out, if it interests you, to learn much more about these and to get involved in them. The advantage of some of these is as you start leading the finance organizations of your companies, things like cloud computing. So the way that our infrastructure costs in our organizations are, earlier there used to be huge infrastructure costs in servers, in maintaining server rooms, in maintaining, we even in our company, we have a data center. So in maintaining these data centers and funding these data centers. But cloud computing has given us opportunities to lower our infrastructure costs. So I think as, finance leaders in your organization, it's very important to understand the impact of these technologies so that you are able to take very well-informed decisions on what investments you need to make in these infrastructures going forward. Because now software is a service that is hosted on a cloud. Of course, there are risks to it, and it's very important that you understand these risks as well. There is the risk of security of data. There is the risk of people needing to be trained in new data, and of course, if the new systems are very, very new and do not have an established history, then there is the risk of management not trusting the new technology, considering the pace of change. But the pace of change is so fast these days that it is important to be able to quickly develop trust, to quickly test new technology, and to gain confidence in technology and roll out the changes faster than the market is changing. So as finance heads of your organizations, it's very important for all of us to stay in touch with new technology so that we are able to recommend to management, make informed cost and benefit analysis of what technology changes that we want to invest in. The new technology also allows us to do better data analysis. And a lot of the decisions that we as accountants need to take depends on data. So the new technology, as we embrace it, allows us to do better analysis, and therefore there's more predictability to the outcomes. So as advisors to our management, I think it is very important for us to understand how data analysis is moving with new technology and to be able to provide better and more powerful data analysis to our management so that they are able to take decisions. So I think the role of an accountant with all this new technology, it's changing from just being a support function where we are responsible for bookkeeping to becoming more like an entrepreneur. You need to think like the entrepreneur. You need to think like the person behind the scenes. You need to think like the shareholder and be able to support the shareholders, the entrepreneurs in their decisions. And that is possible only by adapting to new technology. You might have heard of IBM Watson. So I work currently in a company that is into engineering and construction. So what we do is we construct large-scale plants like refineries, like nuclear plants, like power plants. So our job is to put up these greenfield projects worldwide. And These projects are long gestation projects. So once we take up a project to build a refinery, the project spans 4 to 5 years from the point of time when we start looking at the plot of land, leveling the plot of land, and then laying out the basic infrastructure of where is the roads, then laying the pipelines, and then getting to the real refinery, the process units, and so on. So the whole process of setting up our projects is a multi-year kind of thing. And the outcomes are very, very different. So softwares such as IBM Watson are helping us, analyze historic data in setting up these process plants and helping us better predict the outcomes of our current projects. It's very, very powerful technology that you and I are unable to do. There was an experiment by IBM Watson where about 25 of the top heads and the top brains manually predicted outcomes based on how we've traditionally done it. They spent about 3 months predicting an outcome, and the same data sheets were then fed into IBM Watson. Within, I think it was 24 hours or 28 hours, IBM Watson gave a prediction that was pretty much alike to what these 25 experts had done over a period of 3 months. So that is the power of big data analysis that these technologies bring to us. So I would encourage you to explore these technologies for your organizations and also maintain an active interest in how technology is moving so that you are able to contribute by knowing these technologies and by being able to advise your organization on adapting to these new technologies. There are also opportunities for all of us in the field of technology implementation strategies. And that is where knowledge of these technologies is going to be very, very useful to all of us. So again, I would embrace you that new technology creates opportunities for you to do the job that your customers want done. So please stay in touch with the changes in the field, and those will help you work smart rather than working hard. So I'm going to take a break here and check if there are any questions. If there are any questions that you all have, please feel free to type them on the chat box, and we will try to answer them over the course of this discussion.
Yes,
It's very
yes, Ms. Maitri, I'll read out the question for you.
Yes,
Yeah,
please. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a question from. Before I read out the questions, let me tell the technology questions we will be taking in the next session. So here we will take normal questions. The first question which we have got is the tips for success in practice by Bibin. Now, that's not your field, but if you can throw some light on it, Maitri.
No, our chairman is here in the session. He is the best person to explain. In fact, the student wants to know what he has to do initially to succeed in practice. I think no better person than our chairman, who is a very successful professional. Chairman sir, are you there in the session? Maybe when the chairman comes, we'll ask him.
Yeah, fine. Yes, I'll move on to the next question. We have a question from Anchal, who is asking what should be done if our area of interest and practical exposure differs. That she is trying to get a job in the field she loves, but due to lack of practical exposure in that area, she couldn't get selected in that. Yes.
Anchal, it's a very good question because practically many of us face the same issue. So let me share my own experience and maybe it'll help you understand. So when I joined my current company, they were kind of growing their back office. We have about 350 finance people who are doing captive. It's like a captive BPO, so we service our overseas offices. So this captive BPO at that time was just 7 or 8 people, and I was possibly the 9th person to be recruited. And the field for which I was recruited was project accounting. We call it project business services. So this is basically, like I explained, large projects, and the accounting for it is very complex. So when you're a business manager on a large project, there are multiple challenges that are involved, and it's a very interesting sphere. So I had interviewed for that position. I had got selected. But once I got selected, there were no projects overseas that were willing to work share with us. So our overseas projects were very hesitant to send their work to India for a back office to perform it. And at that time, the only thing that came up, and I hate to sit idle on my job, and the only thing that came up was an accounts payable project overseas, where they were looking at moving all their accounts payable. And accounts payable, as you know, is processing vendor invoices. I had at that time maybe 12 years experience. And to me, processing vendor invoices was like simply not so challenging, because in my past job, like I mentioned, I had dealt with invoices for foreign payments. That was pretty exciting and challenging, and that was early in my career, and I felt I knew everything about vendor invoices. But I hated to sit idle. So I said, okay, fine, let me take this on, because I don't want to sit idle. And there's this project that needs it done. It's work coming to India rather than sit idle. Let me do it. So I went. This was for the Whiting refinery in Indiana. So I had traveled over there, and I had brought back work where, overnight we had to transition about 5,000 invoices every month that were done in the US to India. So it involved training about 8 or 9 people in India. We didn't even have these 8 or 9 people. So I needed to recruit 9 people, train them on our software, which is SAP, and then get the process running. And the way that the project was using SAP was also not in a very efficient manner. So I went in, I changed the way that I made the way that they were harnessing the power of SAP. I made that more powerful. I made them harness the power of SAP. We automated a lot of processes. We got our 8 people trained, and it was a very, very successful transition. And what this transition did for me was that it got me visibility. So a lot of people overseas were looking at this as a test case, that is India able to cope with this challenge. I was unaware of that. But of course, it got me a lot of visibility. The entire finance management sitting in US stood up and took notice. And after that, I was given a lot of opportunities in taking on project business services, because I transitioned this AP. I trained another manager to take it over. And then they said, okay, now, come on, can you take over these 8 projects in Canada that need their project accounting done? And then it was opportunity after opportunity after opportunity that opened up. So what I will say, what a powerful learning from this is, whatever you're given now, be grateful for it, consider it an opportunity to learn and to grow. And you never know what vistas will open up for you from here. So don't reject anything. It may not be the area of your choice, but do the best that you can over there. Learn as much as you can. Contribute. You never know what opportunities and what avenues it's going to open up. So I hope that's answered your question, Anchal. I hope it's given you some food for thought.
Ma'am, thanks. We have a Shrishti who is asking that from your vast experience, can you please explain how to balance perfectionism?
How to balance perfectionism? Okay, very good question again, Srishti. Srishti, way back, I attended a training course, and the trainer explained something that has stayed with me all these years. He says, see, you play many roles in your life. You are daughters, and you are wives, and you are sisters, and you are employees, and you are managers, and you are colleagues. You can't be perfect at everything. You have to understand what your priorities are. And so what is your priority? Think of it as, having a bucket and having rocks and having sand and having water. So the rocks are the biggest things. If you have a bucket and you have to fit everything, first put the big rocks in it. Then start adding smaller pebbles and shake it so the pebbles will find their spaces and get in. After that, is there space in the bucket? There's more space. You can add sand. Sand will go in and fill in all the holes. After that, shake it. Do you still have space? There's sand right up to the top. Do you still have space? Yes, you have space. You can add water. So see, that's about priorities. That what are the biggest priorities of your life? Fit them into your bucket. And then shake it. There's still space. Get the smaller priorities in. So that's where you have to be a perfectionist. Be a perfectionist in what means the most to you. So decide what means the most to you. If what means the most to you is, say accuracy on your work, make sure you focus 100% on that. If what means less to you is for instance, enjoying a 15-minute break with your colleagues, that means less. So the day that you don't need to do that, don't do it. Right? So that's where you have to balance. You have to balance what means the most to you. And each person is different. Each person is unique. What means the most to me may be very different from what means the most. So prioritize your things that are important in your life and understand yourself and give those things priority. That way you can be a perfectionist in those areas that give you most satisfaction and less than perfect in other areas that give you less satisfaction. Hope that helps you, Shrishti.
Yeah, thanks. Now there are many questions, ma'am. Before we take those questions, and we can take those questions once you finish. But before that, Chuk sir is here. Sir, there is a question on the practice, how to be successful in practice in initial years. If you can answer that question, Bipin is asking, then ma'am can go ahead with her presentation after.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabdeep. Basically, you understand with whatsoever you want to be, wherever you want to really go forward and build your career. One is the first point comes in, you have to be in your vision must be clear. That has to be brought into in a manner so that you have to feel like you are going to be success into that. Then understanding, basically you see like over a period of time, journey has moved, given a direction in a different manner. When I qualified as a chartered accountant, things were different. Today, if we talk about, we are living in a complete dynamic environment. Earlier, it used to be a different, like you see, like there were hardly any era for the accounting standard even. In our time, hardly, and there were any accounting standard. Maybe those were also not like compulsory. So things in the perfection stage, like if we talk about earlier, it used to be a small and medium enterprises in our country. Now we are full of the multinational corporates, big Indian corporates also, and strong footing across the world also by the Indian entrepreneurs. So it is the vision what has to be made clear. Earlier it used to be in India. Now also 73% of the Indian firms are the proprietorship. First, like you have to understand in the time to come, the space will be reduced for the proprietorship firm. You have to somehow build your capabilities and the competencies in a manner so that you have to match with the minds of the others and be a part of some other units also. The vision has to be made clear, mission has to be set in, goal has to be created like it is your own personal goal, and it is not like once you start with, even once you are an articleship or the initial stage of the employment, feel like it is your ownership. Ownership concept has to be there in your mind at the very first stage itself. Without being an owner, even if you are working with some company or with a practicing firm, then also you have to feel like you are the owner of the organization. Your responsibility and all the system must see like you are feeling like it is your own organization. Then only you can be a good owner. Otherwise, you cannot be. And it is now you see like the world we are living into. It is a quite dynamic, volatile also. Uncertainty is also prevailing with. You have to keep yourself updated on a day-to-day basis. Complexities are there in the businesses. Ambiguities also remains in the minds of the businessman. So many things are there which are difficult to match with. So in this case, how you can match with the word VUCA itself you can match with. The vision has to be made clear. Understanding has to be strong enough. The clarity has to be there in mind. And then same is the agility in whatsoever you do with. You see, like it is well said by someone, if you are clear in your mind, you want to establish yourself in the practice. So there is no way, no one can stop you except yourself. If the clarity is there in the thought, the sincerity is being put forward with all clarity, so then you are going to be a successful person. So in this case, you have to understand with the two things which matters. First is the knowledge, execution of that particular knowledge, and the building of the relationship, the network, creation of the network. These are the initial points to understand with. Without having a good network, without having a good relationship, you cannot success in the practice or any business. Same time, unless until you have a strong knowledge base, you can prove that you will add value to the corporates or the company who are going to appoint you as a consultant or as a, like you see, like this Matri, she know me by way of not connecting here. By way of having some commercial relations also, we have proven ourselves in her corporate where she is working with, that we are a consultant, we are a service provider in a particular area. So then it comes is the specialization. Specialization matters in the life. If you are in a smaller setup, if you are in a larger big four or the bigger system, so then it is naturally, it's a so many dimensions are there, so many verticals under the one name is there. So then things are little different. First, clarity has to be brought in, relationship has to be brought in, the vision has to be made clear, all clarity has to be brought in, the success way has to be found with some principle and rule based system. Once you start working on it without any kind of ambiguity in your mind, or with all clarity, success is bound to come. Like I have already said, success is as inevitable. You yourself will find it. Whatever you want to do with, whether as to build yourself as in the commercial system, or to prove yourself, your skill in whatever you like. Today I am in the council. How it has been achieved with? It is by way of the relationship, by way of the coming closer, a close network been developed with, a full team is been developed with. That is why the success has come in. Same is with the commercial setup also. Same is with the working in any project. So the success has some common parameters, some specific to the project itself. So I hope whosoever wants to be in the practice, he'll be clear in his mind. And even if you need any further one-on-one guidance, I'm always there for each one of you as a council member or otherwise as a senior professional around you. So over to Prabdeep.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for detailed answer on that, and best wishes to all who are wanting to be in practice. And madam, over to you to finish the presentation and then the questions.
Yes. So I would request, if there are a lot of questions, to me answering the questions is very, very important. So,
okay.
I'm happy to take as many questions, and I'm happy to, kind of.
Fine, ma'am. Yeah, we will carry on with the questions.
Abbreviate what I'm talking. If there are students out there who have questions, it's very important that we should address that.
Yeah, madam, one question is coming again and again. There are 3-4 students asking same question. Their query is at the initial of the job, whether one should look at the CTC or look at the job profile.
Okay, this is a very interesting question. So let me word it this way. When you choose a college to go to, do you choose the college based on the fees, or do you choose the college based on the faculty? And my answer would be, I would choose the college based on the faculty, provided the fees is not prohibitive. If the fees is so expensive, it's going to be $50,000 a year, then I will not go for that college, even if the faculty is gold class. But if the fees is in a certain range, I will definitely choose the college with the best faculty. So similar to that, if the CTC is extremely low, then I will not choose that job. Correct? Because it doesn't make sense. It's almost like exploitation. We are professionals. There is a certain minimum threshold. So if the CTC is like really rock bottom and it's what you would pay to a blue collar worker, for instance, then why would a chartered accountant take that? But if the CTC is in a range, I think the important thing is you're building the foundation of your career. So it's important to choose the job with the best job description, which will make that foundation very strong. So I would say career growth and growth in CTC are kind of they are very closely correlated. So even though your first CTC may be low, but if your foundation is strong and if you're learning a lot, if the job description gives you that learning, the growth in CTC later is bound to happen. So my suggestion to you is within a range, choose the one that is the best job description that gives you the best foundation. And beyond that, CTC will grow on its own. I hope that's helpful.
Thanks. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have a question from Yogesh, who is asking how can we do smart work instead of hard work during employment in any organization?
Yogesh, you have to look for opportunities. And that is where the skill that you learned is going to be very, very useful. That's the practical application of the skill that you've learned in the last many years. So whenever you are engaged in any process, first understand the process and follow it in the way that it is being followed. Understand each step in the process. Once you understand the entire process, you know what the checks and balances are. You know what internal controls are meant to be there because of which this process has been set in place. You also know what are the inputs and what is the end result. So there are some inputs based on which the process functions. There are some internal checks. There's an end output. These cannot be compromised and these cannot be changed. The output has to be what it is. The input has to be what it is. The checks and controls have to be in. With this, if there is any scope for making the process stronger and at the same time faster, more automated, look for those opportunities. Then there are always opportunities. It depends on the software that your company is currently using. It depends on the budget the company has for investing in further software. It depends on also the management attitude to grasp the change. But even if management attitude is not there, it depends on your ability to influence that change. Because ultimately, when you automate a process, there are efficiencies, there are cost savings. So there is investment in technology and there is cost saving on a daily basis. So it is us as professionals who have to demonstrate that the cost savings have a payback. The investment in technology has a payback through the cost savings. So I would encourage you to look for opportunities, present them to management, and get a buy-in. That's the only way that you can implement automation changes and do smart.
Thanks. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have Akash who is asking that if I'm late in my career, what should I do? Because he wants to develop his career in the overseas market. So he would he says that one of the voice says to me that, yes, I can do it. But if you can throw some guidance on it, which can help him build his confidence.
Wonderful question. So when you say late, what is late? What is early? Isn't time relative? So I don't believe anything is late. As long as you want it, if you want something to happen in your life, now is the right time for it. Nothing is too late, nothing is too early. If you want it, there's a book by Paul Coelho where he uses this very powerful statement that if you want something enough, then the universe will conspire to make it happen. So there is no such thing as late. There's no such thing as early. It is your desire to make it happen. If you desire it powerfully enough, it can happen. You want to work overseas? There are opportunities, wonderful opportunities overseas. And I'm sure, you know, I'm sorry, I think I'm having connectivity issues.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Mr. Prabdeep Singh is part of our overseas chapter. He can share, there are wonderful opportunities available out there for people of every profile, be it freshers, qualified, experience, every age group, and age does not matter. Age does not matter because, privacy concerns, a lot of, at least our company does not allow us as interviewers to even look at age, because there are privacy concerns. Age should not be a determining factor in interviewing and choosing the right candidate for a job. But it's never too late and it's never too early. If your desire is strong enough, it can happen.
Thanks. Yeah, so I can tell Mahesh that on 12th, we have a panel discussion on opportunities abroad, which will help you further guide on this. And next question we have from Mahesh Hindi. He is saying that you talked about 10,000 hours, but he comes from a very small city where, as a practicing chartered accountant, he will have to look into so many fields and not just depend upon one field. So how will it work for him?
The 10,000 hour rule, Mahesh, is for whatever you do. So in the city that you are in, if you're engaged in interacting with your clients and providing whatever service you do to them, 10,000 hours from now, you are going to be renowned in that city for being the expert. Trust yourself. That is what is required. So it does not require specialization in one field. What it requires is, as a professional, you're spending 10,000 hours in those many fields. You are going to be an expert in all those fields to the extent that, your clients need that service. So have confidence in yourself and gain the most you can out of the next 10,000 hours and out of the next 10,000 after that, and so on.
Great. We have Ramat, who is saying that he will have to continue in his family business, but that is in an unorganized sector. So how he as a chartered accountant can make it better?
Ramit, the unorganized sector is going to undergo several changes. You're aware the government is coming out with a new wage code. And there are many things in that wage code which will impact the unorganized sector. As a chartered accountant, I think you're very well poised to embrace all these changes and maybe convert your family business to be the forerunner in the unorganized sector that embraces all these changes, is a compliant organization. And you can probably, grow the business in a different direction than your competition is growing it in. So as a chartered accountant, you get visibility into future developments that others will not have. And even if it is in the unorganized sector, there are ways and means to strengthen your P&L by bringing your professional knowledge to fore. There are ways and means of strengthening processes within your organization. The unorganized is only so far as I think the labor concept is concerned. But as far as managing your P&L, as far as managing your earnings, as far as analyzing how your business is doing and carrying that business to the next level, it can be as organized as you want to make it. And being a chartered accountant, I think that gives you an edge over the others in that same sector. So it gives you an edge over your competition. So all the best to you, Ramit.
Yeah. Pooja has a question which is very often asked, that initial hiccups which you have answered though, where, not able to decide where to go. So she is saying that initially I'm not looking at practice and want to go for a job. So basically she wants some tips to build her confidence and guide a little bit on that.
Pooja, I think first thing, not just for you, Pooja, but for everyone else, sit up straight, give yourself a pat on the back, and congratulate yourself for being a chartered accountant. I think that should be your biggest confidence booster. You're among, I don't know what Mr. Prabdeep can tell us, maybe the top 2% of the population of India, something like that. I think you should draw strength and confidence from that you are a top-notch professional from the best institute that India has for accounting professionals. That itself should be a source of confidence and inspiration. Apart from that, whatever you do in your job, do it to the best of your ability. Bring your passion there. Do it with passion. Do it believing that I'm going to make this better than it was done before. And believe in that. And trust me, you will do the best on the job and you will be appreciated for it years after. So Pooja, all the best to you. I hope will draw confidence from the fact that you are a chartered accountant.
I think, Ms. Maitri, there is a confusion with regard to the 10,000 hours in minds of many the participants, because here Purvesh is saying that do we need to apply 10,000 hour rule from our first day of job? And he further adds on that sometimes we may or we may not be interested in job, and should we take a year to learn what we love before becoming expert?
See, the journey to becoming an expert, it's a journey, it's not a destination. It's a journey. I'm sure there are a lot of you here who are cricket enthusiasts. And you watched how Sachin Tendulkar as a 14-year-old grew to a Sachin Tendulkar as a 30-year-old and yet had passion for the game and yet kept learning. I think that's what is important. The 10,000 hour rule. I think you've already spent at least, as chartered accountants, we spent 3+ years becoming chartered accountants. So that itself adds to the 10,000 hour rule. So you're all well on your way to becoming experts. Don't be confused. It's not a number. It's not a number written in stone that once you earn 10,000, there's no need to learn anymore. It just tells you that it just gives you a feeling that I am an expert today. I'll just share one experience that I had. At one point, I was delayed in paying my membership fees to the institute. This was when I had about 6 or 7 years experience, and I had to go down to the institute to make my arrears payment. I had about 7 years experience, and I walked into the institute and into the members section, and the person was very, very respectful to me. And he said, a senior member has come. He made me sit. I was like, I just have 7 years experience. I'm not a senior member. In my mind, that conversation was going on that am I senior? I only have 7 years experience. But at that point, that awakening was there, that with 7 years of experience, you're considered senior. So I want you to start with that awareness that as a chartered accountant, you're already considered an expert. With 2 years experience, you'll be considered even more an expert. With 5 years experience, you're considered like you're the word on that job. Have that feeling, because every year you're moving closer to that where people will think that what you know everything there is to know about your subject. Have that, be aware of that and spend your time learning. That's what I meant by it. If you want to be an expert in your field, by all means you can be. It doesn't mean you need to take a break. If you feel like taking a break, nothing to stop you from it. But it doesn't mean you have to drop everything and say next year I'm going to gain knowledge. Knowledge is something that is continuous. You have to gain it. Even being in a job, a job that is very, very demanding like many of us have, we need to take out time to learn. We need to take out time to learn. We need to take out time to improve our knowledge. So whether you take a break to learn is a very personal decision. But learning is a constant thing. But I want you to grow with this awareness that you are already experts, and within a couple of years, you will be considered renowned experts in your fields. Over to you, Pradeep.
Yeah, Kapil has a question regarding passion, I believe. He's asking how to develop interest in any particular field.
So, interest in any particular field comes from knowing that field. Think back to your school days. Which was your favorite subject? Your favorite subject was the one that you understand. Your favorite subject was the one where the teacher taught you best. So how do you gain interest? You gain interest by understanding a subject well. And the thing that you understand best is where your interest automatically flows in that direction. So I think how do you develop interest? Is by gaining a deep understanding of whatever you're doing today. Whatever it is you're doing today, get deep into it, understand the process. Your own company has a certain process. Talk to your friends who are handling similar things in other companies. How do they do it? That will give you an insight on and a different perspective. Once you do that and you gain a deep understanding of what you're doing, automatically your interest will be kindled in that subject. And as you're learning about a subject, you also have cross-discipline, interactions, and your horizon expands. Your whole perception of that concept expands. That is what will kindle your interest. And as you go down this path, you will realize where your passion resides.
Great.
Hope that answers
We
your
have,
question.
yeah. Harshali, your question also, I believe, has been answered earlier. I'll move to a question from Krishna. I think this may be important for many, where she is asking for practical tips to managing motherhood and profession, because both are her priorities. And she said that she did babysitting and studying together, but being in CA practice will be completely different challenge. So how she can handle it? If you can give some tips.
Krishna, such a good question. So this is something that I have been through myself. And in fact, I had a slide on it. I'm going to scroll forward. I had a slide on work-life balance. And this is not just a woman-centric question. It affects everybody. We all have only 24 hours in a day. We all have families. We all have other interests. And we all have our jobs or careers. And how do you balance everything? So I'm going to you might have heard of the concept of work-life balance. I'm going to introduce a concept called work-life blend. Now, blend is something that each person has to understand what blend they like. I think a lot of people on this call will be tea drinkers. So there are many different teas that are available. There are some people who like a light tea. There are some people who like a strong tea. There are some people who like sugar in their tea, some people who like milk in their tea, some people who like no milk, some people who like less milk. You have to understand what blend it is that suits you best. And that blend may vary during the course of your life. So at the time, like you have a young child now, so your preference may be to spend a little bit more time with your child, watching the child grow, and a little bit less time on your career. And I have been through that in my past. But at this point, I'm at a stage where my children are grown up and I'm able to devote more hours to my job, which I was not able to do earlier. So I think you need to understand yourself that what is the blend that suits me best, and understand also how my priorities are changing over time. And if this is your priority, give it importance. Give it importance because, your child is not going to be young always. Going to grow up. So invest time on watching your child grow. It gives you a lot of pleasure. So like I said at the beginning, like Mr. Kabra mentioned, there is no definition of success. The definition of success is very personal. At this point, if your definition of success is being a successful mother, if that is your first priority, please focus on that. And everything else falls in place. There are times when the child is asleep. Make sure your clients are aware that you've got things going on in your life. If you're in practice, and I understood that you're in practice, Krishna. So if your clients are aware, you can fix your client meetings around your child's schedule. And it's all right. It is not unprofessional. So if your child's schedule is, say, it works for you to meet your clients 12 to 3, perfect. Tell your clients that my client meetings can happen 12 to 3. Similarly, even in the job, I have taken career breaks. When my children were young, I took a year off for my child. And that was perfectly fine because that was my priority at that point in time. And at other times, I made sure that my boss knew that after 5:30 in the evening, I have other priorities. And if there is work that needs to be done, then I will get to the work only after 10:30 at night. So it's very important for that communication also to happen, where you allow other stakeholders to know what works for you and to let them know what your priorities are, but to know that my career is important, but I will work around these timings and please accommodate these timings for me. So that communication is also very important. So I think a few things that are important is to know yourself, find your equilibrium, and to be able to communicate that to other stakeholders. Hope that helped you, Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to pass a message to Manish, Shobraj, and Rashi that half of your questions, have been answered earlier and half will be answered in the technology session later on. And we have a question from Jasdeep, who is saying that being a professional, expectation of senior management sometimes is very high. He says that he's putting a lot of efforts, but sometimes few things are not in your control. And that might be your colleagues, COVID situation, or so on. So please guide how we can handle such a situation, where he further says that how to win the confidence of teams under you.
Thank you for that question. I think there are many skills that are required in order for us to be a successful part of the society that we function within. So whether it's an organization, whether it's a team, we are all part of one machine. We are only one piece of that machinery. There are many aspects that are very, very important. Now, how do you fulfill another person's expectation? The first step to that is understanding what that expectation is and communicating well. So, what is the expectation? Have you checked what is that expectation, or are you assuming that you have not met that expectation? Or are you even able to articulate what is that expectation that I'm not meeting? First of all, I would request that we should go. If we are saying that senior management is not satisfied or their expectations are not being met, I think it calls for a feedback session where you sit honestly with your manager and say, sir, I'm getting a feeling, I'm working hard, I'm trying my best, but I'm getting a feeling that there are some of your expectations that I am unable to meet. So it will help me to know what are those expectations where I'm falling short, so that I make my best attempt in the next few months to meet those expectations. So this kind of honest conversation will enable your manager to communicate to you what the expectations are, so that we don't have this, mental sort of anguish or anxiety that what is the expectation. It's very clearly communicated. You have heard from your manager that this is the expectation that is not being met, and you know clearly what you need to do to meet it. So I think first step in anything is a very honest and open conversation to talk about what is the expectation I'm not able to meet. Second, you talked about circumstances that are not under your control. Circumstances that are not under your control. We talk of COVID-19, there's nothing that you or I or anybody else can do for it. It's a virus that we cannot see, let alone control. So let us not attempt to control the uncontrollable. The uncontrollables will play out. What can we control? We can only control ourselves. So let us do our best to control ourselves. What can we control in ourselves? We can control how our attitude, to display that I can do it kind of an attitude. We can control our self-motivation. Let us remain self-motivated. Let us remain self-disciplined. We can control what you mentioned just now, how we function as a team. Very, very important in any organization. How do you function as a team? Nobody functions as an individual. How do you function as a team? How do you develop those relationships? There is no colleague who comes to work thinking, let me fight with everybody. Nobody comes to work like that. It's just that everybody is a little different. We are different and the other person is different. Build that relation. How do you build that relation? So right now, I think we're all sitting very distant from each other, only meeting each other in video calls or audio calls. But even in that call, how you word your questions, how you word your statements, how you understand the other person is very important. Spend time trying to understand the other person and understand what they are going through. Everybody is going through a lot. So, you say that we can't control our colleagues, but we don't know what they're going through. So attempt to understand what they're going through. That little bit of empathy, that little bit of trying to understand them is very important and will bridge that relationship. And you will find that working with your colleagues becomes easy. Once the situation improves and you're at work, meet people. Simple tip, don't have your lunch alone. Go have your lunch, find someone who's sitting alone, sit with them, have lunch. There's a group, sit with them, tell them, can I have my lunch with you? It's very important that casual conversation that happens over lunch is very important to build relationships. So I think the stress between colleagues will disappear once you start building your relationships. So I hope that helped answer your question.
Fine. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have a question from Sonal, who is asking how to inculcate leadership qualities.
Sonal, what are leadership qualities? So, first of all, what is leadership quality? Leadership quality is where I think one important quality in leaders is where you trust the person. How do you develop a relationship of trust? You develop a relationship of trust by first developing the relationship. So what I just spoke about, develop good relations with everybody. Regardless whether they are seniors, they are your colleagues, they are your subordinates, they are your teammates, develop a good relation with everybody. Understand them. They're also people. They're also coming to work. They have the same motivations coming to work as you do, as I do. That we need to spend these 9 hours in a productive manner. We need to bring our best to the work, and we need to go back home, and we need to earn the paycheck at the end of the day. Those are the same motivations that everybody at work has. So understand those motivations and treat everybody with humility and respect. Once you do that, you will earn the respect and earn the trust of your co-workers. First step in leadership. The second step in leadership, I would say, is an honest and open relationship where you're honest about what your expectations of the other person are and you expect that same honesty from them. And in order to develop this relationship of mutual honesty, I think a good communication is very important. To have honest communications with your managers, with your colleagues, with your subordinates. I think I just touched upon that, how you can have an honest conversation. Be very candid and say that I need to talk to you about this, and so that we are on the same page. And can we have this conversation? And is now a good time, or can we have it later? Because this is what I want to talk about. Let me know when is a good time, because everybody is busy. So it's good to get time on their calendar. Tell them what you want to talk about. Set that expectation that I want to talk about the subject. Tell me when it's a good time. And then have that conversation. So I think all these things will help you slowly gain the trust, have an open relationship, and that's the first step towards leadership. So all the best.
We have questions from Devansh and Megha, which I would like you to throw light together. You have already shared some points. Devansh is asking that as many big fours are there which are having shared service centers right now in India, and they are offering jobs. So he's saying that whether it would be good for a CA fresher to go for that job. And Megha is asking that whether it's good to work in a big four global firm. What's your perspective to develop the career? So both the question relates to big four. It can be in a shared service center of a big four or on the other divisions of the big four.
I'm aware a lot of the big four are recruiting at this point. And the advantage of a big four is, first of all, they have very well documented processes. Everything follows a certain process. I think in my own career, I started my career with Indian Oil, where it's a very large company and everything is so process driven. First job, I had the authority within a month of joining to sign checks of up to 5 crore rupees. And these checks would come to me for signing. How do you sign a check for 5 crore rupees without your hands shaking? You sign it based on a strong process. The processes have to be so strong, your faith on that process, your faith that, these steps and these checks and balances are there, becomes so strong by working with these large organizations that it gives you a tremendous confidence to work in any size of transaction. It also gives you a lot of experience on what are the best processes. So when you work in a different organization later on in life, which does not have such strong processes or which has processes that could do with some improvement, then your experience with a large company which has strong processes helps a lot. So those are my experiences, that when you work with any organization, not just the Big Four, but when you work with any organization which is strong and process driven as a foundation in your career, then it gives you a very firm footing to become process oriented later on in your career. So with that said, talking of captive services, when you work in an organization with only its own finance, then you are exposed only to that organization and its limited transactions. A captive back office helps you to look at transactions for multiple organizations from multiple industries, multiple backgrounds, multiple sizes, multiple countries. So that's a completely different exposure and experience. So with those inputs, I think it's a very personal decision on whether you want to join the Big Four, whether you want to join a captive service or not. But those are the benefits of joining. So I hope that helps you take a well-informed decision on joining one of the Big Fours in their captive.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. There is a question from one Mr. Shubham Sharma, which only you will be able to answer. The question is very simple. PSU or MNC?
Perfect question. Okay. PSU or MNC? I'll tell you the advantages of both, and I'll tell you also some drawbacks of both. And then the decision is yours. I worked in the PSU. I worked with Indian Oil for 10 years. I worked with MNCs. I've been with MNCs for the last 13, 14 years. PSU as Indian Oil, what it gave me was, like I just mentioned, very strong process orientation. Very, very strong systems. I knew SAP. They implemented. Indian Oil was one of the companies that implemented SAP in every part of the country. Starting from their gas outlets to their petrol pumps to marketing, pipelines, refineries, everywhere there was SAP. We called it Project Manthan when they implemented SAP, because it was like when you do Manthan, Samudra Manthan, there's Vish and Amrit, both that come out. So we called it Project Manthan, where we knew that both Vish and Amrit would come, but ultimately the Amrit will prevail. So it was a company that gave me such a strong backing of all systems being strong, the IT background being strong. It was also a company, you will be very surprised to learn this, it was a company that allowed you as an officer, I joined as an accounts officer, it allowed me the power to change things. Believe it or not, I changed things. I was in charge of foreign currency payments and insurance. The insurance sector was opening up. And I said, we need to start taking quotations from the insurance companies and make them compete against each other. Till then, we had always been taking insurance only from Oriental Insurance. When I joined, I said, why don't we open it up? The company embraced that. They said, okay, do it. There were certain insurances that I felt were not required. I only had to speak to my management, raise a note sheet. They changed it. We did not take that insurance. We saved about 6 crores of insurance premium every year by doing away with some insurance. It's a very progressive company, very, very progressive company, where you as a young accounts officer in your first job has the power to make changes, to bring process improvements. So those are the advantages of working with an MNC, working with a public sector. Some disadvantages you would all be aware of. Everything works on note sheets, but that's not bad. Documentation is important. Even today in my job, I understand the importance of documentation because of the kind of documentation we were forced to do back then. I think again, we had a question on CTC. You know the CTC of public sectors, they are very open. And you will earn what you will earn, but you will also get a lot of job security. Those are the pros and cons of working with a public sector. Working with an MNC. Working with an MNC, of course, first thing, the question on CTC, you get pretty decent CTCs. You get an exposure to different cultures, which is very nice. I've been on calls where we have people from Far East and people from the West, people from the Middle East. It's a totally culturally diverse field where everybody is respectful to each other, and you learn those cultures. You also learn processes from a multinational perspective. So there are many advantages of working with a multinational as well. The other advantage of a multinational is there is very strict segregation of duties. There is international systems. There is opportunity for international travel. There is ability for postings globally. But of course, the ability for postings globally is there even with the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Mr. Prabdeep is sitting in the Middle East, posted from ICAI. So there are benefits, there are disadvantages of each kind of job. Pick a well-informed choice. There is no one that is better than the other. I would make the same choices again if I was asked to make them again. I would still join Indian Oil if I was given a choice today as my first job. And I would still join a multinational after 10 years experience if I had the choice today. So make your own choice. Each has its benefits. Each has its disadvantages.
Ma'am, we have, yeah.
Madam, we are left with 4 minutes. So maybe one very relevant question, which is relevant to the theme of your talk. Namrata Thembe wants to know how to handle politics in workplace.
Namrata, politics. I think you don't have to handle politics. The politics can play around you. If you stay focused on your work, and if you're just aware of the politics, don't be unaware of it. Don't be naive. But be aware of it, but you don't have to play politics. There are others who play it. And why do they play it? They play it because they don't have the capabilities. People who are confident of their own capabilities don't need to play politics. So be confident of your abilities, be aware of the politics, let it play out around you. Let your abilities, let your strengths, let your talents, let them come out in front. Trust me, you don't really need to play politics.
Ma'am, we have, these so many questions are there which revolve around number of attempts and coming from a small city. So your final words of wisdom on this, though we have been in many lectures trying to remove this doubt, but with your experience, if you can say that if my number of attempts is more, then how I can manage the challenges. And if I'm coming from a small city, then how can I develop my confidence that I'm as superior as anyone coming from a bigger city?
Okay, number of attempts. I think you're a chartered accountant today, and that's what is the most important. The number of attempts it takes is just statistics. Have confidence in your abilities. Keep improving your abilities. I don't think the number of attempts matters, except as an interview question. But even when I'm interviewing candidates, if the number of attempts is not the basis on which we select candidates, we select candidates based on their skills, their talents, and their passion that they display for working and for learning and growing. Coming from a small town. I think coming from a small town is a big advantage, not a disadvantage. Many of us who've been in Delhi all our lives, we see that that passion and that drive is kind of drying up. There's a sense of entitlement. There's a sense that this is mine to ask for and this is mine to demand and take. Which is not a good attitude at the job. It doesn't take you very high in the job. The passion that people from small towns bring is visible, and their absolute desire to grow and to perform and to excel is visible. So many times I have preferred candidates from small towns over candidates from large town because of their desire to work and to grow. So don't let the fact that you came from a small town pull you down at all. But one thing that I will tell you to focus on, please improve, please work on, whether you're from a small town or from a big city, work on your communication skills. Most important. If you're unable to communicate, and communication doesn't mean English, communication means what you want to say is heard by the other person. So please be able to convey what you want to say and to be able to hear what the other person wants to say. That is most important. Focus on that. Other than that, and focus on your passion. Other than that, I don't think being from a small town or having a lot of attempts should be a showstopper at all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your wonderful insights and so much time you have given to the participants. A deep note of thanks and gratitude for you to take out time. And hopefully the answers of most of the participants have been answered. And apologies to all who have left out. And looking forward to see you again, ma'am. Ranganathan, sir, you would like to say anything?
Ma'am, thank you so very much. I would say not only for the freshers, even for the people like me who are in the winter of their career, whatever you talked about, tips and tricks, particularly the office politics part, I really enjoyed that answer. Yes, politics, people who play politics are those who are not good at their work. So if you can concentrate on our work, that's the answer which I would also be giving to people, because we all face politics everywhere, not only in the workplace, even in the houses. So even in the house, if we are good at our responsibilities, then these things don't affect. Thank you so very much. It was so wonderful. We look forward to having you in other forums also. And there was one comment by one girl who had participated in our earlier EDP. She is participating here also, although we didn't send link to her, but she came here in the program and she has thanked us that she got a job basically because of the 7-day program. So we hope that people who attend this 6-day program will also groom themselves well in their career and do well. And then they will owe it to you, and then they will remember you for the tips and tricks that you gave today. Thank you so very much. It was wonderful. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Ranganathan, and all the best to everybody in this session today. And stay safe through these times, and all the best. My email ID is there at the end of the presentation. If there's anything that we've left uncovered, please feel free to get in touch.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are into the last 58 minutes of the session today, and quickly allow me to introduce our learned speaker, C.A. Anand Prakash Jangi. C.A. Anand is a passionate evangelist for tech-based disruption in audit and finance domain. Anand is professionally a chartered accountant and a certified information system auditor. He is a managing partner at AJA, an organization with focus in the area of forensic audit, IS audit, fraud analytics, and blockchain for internal audit function. Anand was part of the risk management team at Goldman Sachs, covering multiple audits across much geography for different functions in the organization. His areas of specialization were forex audit, DP audits, anti-money laundering, Basel II, BCPA, and operational risk. Prior to Goldman, he was with ES Consulting Group at Infosys Technologies. Here, he was involved in the development of regulatory compliance framework for various compliances like SOA Act, and was part of the team developing solution for Basel II Accord implementation. His responsibilities included work in sync with project of Infosys Consulting at Dallas. He has been involved in enterprise risk management implementation and IT audit for many international projects at USA, UK, Japan, China, etc. He is a visiting faculty for IIM Bangalore, where he teaches IS audit and fraud analytics. He is on the committee of IRDA for cybersecurity audit. He has been a key contributor to forensic accounting and investigation standards issued by ICAI. He is a speaker at North America Tax and Eurotax at ISACA. So before I invite Anand, I would like to share with Anand that we have many questions on the technology here, where the maximum questions relate to blockchain, where there are many doubts regarding blockchain, which the participants have. Second thing, your topic is future of work. So there are many doubts regarding how the jobs will remain in the future and how automation and other technologies are affecting. And the third thing, what we can do to improve our knowledge in these emerging technologies. So these are so most of the questions revolve around these 3 points. And please help me all with a virtual round of applause for C. Anand and Anand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. So it's a great opportunity to be here, and thanks to Hansa sir and for Sharp Kabra sir for giving this opportunity. It's interesting. I was listening to Maitri, and some of the points he was mentioning is pretty interesting, and that's something which I was talking about. And I was actually thinking when she talked about the point of having 15 accounting standard. I remember when I was writing my examination, the motivation was that you should pass this attempt, otherwise 2 more standard will come next time. So that was the kind of motivation from which Ranganathan sir knows that we have come across. And today it's interesting, and actually Maitri did a lot of great stuff. She covered a lot of stuff which I wanted to cover, so I was actually deleting a couple of my slides. I didn't want to have a depth by PowerPoint, and I would like to, as probably mentioned, maybe I'll actually jump into the future of work and what I see as a vision, and what we are seeing around us, what's changing. So friends, directly diving into the presentation, let me share my presentation and share the screen. Okay, so you can see this. Yeah, so future of work and emerging technologies. So when I was actually working on this presentation, one of the, I'm a little comfortable with that. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So I was actually thinking, what should I share with all our fresh chart accountants? So it's great you guys are have become CA. I hope it's a tough job. I'm a first generation chart accountant, and I know how tough it is. A couple of times I've flunked, and I was like being very envious to what Maitri was saying, all rank holder and all the thing, and here we are who have flunked multiple times. But the point is that being CA, that itself is a great thing. But friends, a lot of things is changing around us, and we have to take it to the stride. I remember when I was doing my CA, and I'm sure a lot of you would have heard from the earlier CA. I don't know if you are aware of that in the old scheme of institute, we used to have COBOL programming and basic programming, and it used to come in final examination. It used to be SADP was a subject, and we have to write COBOL codes in examination. We have come a long way where we don't have to actually just imagine and write a code, and where we are today. Now, when I was reading about future of job, one of the key things which has come and actually coming and hitting it, which is a check-in statement, and I have actually tried to put it in the chat. I will try to put it in chat. Is a very interesting report by the World Economic Forum. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend you to please have a look at the World Economic Forum report. This is the report I'm talking about. It came in Future of Job 2020. Okay, it's an October 2020 report, and I always talk about this report a lot. And how I stumble upon this is very simple. My daughter is in class 10, and I was actually thinking that she should also do CA just like any other what we call it as first generation chartered accountant who would always want that. Why should only I suffer? My kids should also suffer a little bit. So I wanted them to go into this way. But when I read this report, this was a very interesting report, and it's a very detailed report. So friends, I would just directly jump into one part which, talk about the top 10, 20 jobs which is increasing and decreasing demand across industry. So see, for me and Maitri, we are already, have crossed a kind of timeline and been in industry for a long time, but you guys are all starting off right now. So whatever you decide on, I would actually request you to have a look at this report in detail. I will maybe share it up, or you can just Google it up, World Economic Forum Future of Job Report. Now you can see it here, and I always talk about this, that there is a lot of things the role of chartered accountants is changing. It's no more the same role which we used to think it was. There is more expectations and a lot of things. There is a kind of a term we call it as that there is an expectation that this is something taken for granted if you are done it. So you see at the decreasing demand, we have accountants and auditors. But there is a lot of new demand which is increasing on data analysis, machine learning, big data, blockchain, information security, digital transformation. All of these things are actually catching it up there. Now, my objective of showing this was a very simple objective. I wanted you guys to actually understand that I don't want you to become like a Luddite. And Luddite is actually a kind of person. I'm sure you've heard about them. If you do a dictionary meaning of this, the people who are not using technology or who are averse to technology. Whether you are doing, I'm sure Maithreen, in their organizations, you have to be dealing with technology. You have to be, I call it the word, I would say, technology focused in terms of how we are dealing with them. Luddites were the guys who were actually the protest group in the early, I would say 1800 and that time, who used to say that automation is bad and they used to actually destroy machinery. And today, if you see the word Luddite in dictionary, it basically means a guy who is handicapped in technology. Now, why I'm saying you, all of you, I'm just thinking it loud, but you would be all millennials, born after 1990s. Millennials are amazingly great with technology. You guys are the future of our profession because you guys already know, or you are the people who are very, very natural with technology. And why I'm trying to tell this is the future of job, as we are talking about, is going to be very different. I'm sure you are reading about something very interesting nowadays called 4 days week. How many of you have heard about this term called 4 days week? And the 4 days week is something which is, because you have a kind of less work. There is a reason for that. There's not going to be that kind of work which you used to have earlier. And to match that up, they are just talking about instead of 5 days week, which we used to have earlier, we need to have a 4 days week. There are a lot of interesting things and, talks which are going about that. I would highly recommend you to read this book, The Future of Profession. And this is by Richard Susskind and Daniel Susskind. And both of these guys are, the guys who actually in the 90s wrote a book and they actually predicted that email is going to become the de facto business communication mode in time to come. And when they say that the future of profession, and they talk about 3 professions here, if you read the book, they talk about the profession of friends, lawyers, doctors, and accountants. And they say that they are going to be disrupted like anything. And the whole thing is happening because of what we call as the emerging technologies. So how come we are talking about all this emerging technology now? Is that like technology was there all the time, right? You guys have been seeing that happening all around you. So what is that has happened around us? Now that brings us to the genesis question, and I will just maybe spend 3-4 minutes. I would really like to have more questions and answers with you, but I just want to cover this point because this is a very important topic, friends, all of us need to understand. Change which is happening around us. If you ask your parents, the change on technology never used to happen that fast. The reason is in the 1700s, we used to have the first industrial revolution when mechanization and steam and other things started. Then the peak came in the 1850. From 1870, we had the Industry 2.0 started, which is basically mass production assembly line. If you have, you have been lucky and you have seen this very interesting movie called Modern Times, which was Charlie Chaplin movie where you see him going into the machine, coming out and all things. That was the movie which was made at that time. And very interestingly, they were talking about industry, automation and all that kind of thing. The third wave started in the 1970s, but the peak came in 2010. And that was like what we saw, the computerization, electronics and all things. But today, friends, is change. We have entered the 4th industrial revolution as per World Economic Forum. I'm not talking about it. You should read about their book, which they have written. Very interesting book. They say that we are already in Industry 4.0, the starting point. This is the starting point. So it will take some time to get the peak. But it's going to impact everything. Smart manufacturing, cyber physical system where you basically cannot differentiate. I'm not sure if you have, if you get a chance, I would not like to share it now because of paucity of time, but if you get a chance, just go on, YouTube and search for Amazon Go Store. It is in Seattle. I got a chance to go there. And if you see this, Amazon Go Store, you will be shocked that how are you going to audit it or how are you going to do accounting for that store? Because that store is actually on deep learning and it's actually working, all the things which you see in a self-driving car, those kind of technologies being used by Amazon. I visited that in something in 2018. I went with one of my friends who had a, account at that time at the store, and he took his QR code and went into the store. And he actually took me also with the same QR code. Whatever I was picking it up, whatever item, there was no cashier, no one in the store who was just going to stop you. You just pick up any item, it is got added to your account. And when you just come out of the thing, they charge your, card. And I was very impressed by that. That was that time a kind of a initial store. And today they have 17 stores like that in US. So we are talking about the next way of looking at that. But there is going to be, a kind of a different kind of skill set is going to be required. A lot of time being in Goldman Sachs, a lot of people used to ask, I want to go in investment banking and all that kind of stuff. And I used to tell them that, guys, investment banking, if you're joining it up and all the thing, for chartered accountant, it's not just the CA degree, you just got into investment banking. Investment banking also doesn't make much money for the firm. A lot of people don't know that. But financial industry is actually going for a big disruption. Fintech, you're hearing that terms everywhere, right? You just see this one. This was the UBS trading floor in 2005. And this is the 2016 picture, and now it is closed actually. Can you see that how much dependency was there on humans for doing trading at that point of time? And I'm sure all of you have watched this movie, The Wall Street, The Wolf of Wall Street, and blah, 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 all of kind of thing, where they, depict all those things in a very different way. Just see that there's no more requirement for that. So when we are talking about the future of job, we need to take a pause and just try to understand why it is going to change us. The reason is the genesis you have to understand. The genesis of this is the fourth industrial revolution. Carl Schwab, who's actually the founder and executive chairman of WEF, in his book, he mentioned one very interesting thing. He said we are on the brink of a technological revolution that's going to fundamentally alter the way we live, the way we work, the way we relate to one another. And the scale and scope and complexity of this transformation is unlike something which humankind has ever experienced before. And why he says that, there is a very important reason for that. And when they mention something, they will do it with a fact. It's not something, just out of the blue, I would be saying that, right? And this book is a very interesting book. You should read it. You will get a kind of a lot more input on that. The reason is the speed we are talking about. Just to give you an example on the speed, telephone as a technology to reach 100 million customers, it took 75 years. Web took 7 years. That's a big number to reach 100 million, okay? Facebook took 4 years. Insta, 2 years. But just see, I don't know how many of you bought an extra phone for Pokemon Go. I did it. It was a fun game. Pokemon Go had 100 million customers in 1 month. Can you just think of the scale at what we are changing? The scale at what we are doing these things right now? Amazingly fast. Now, you can take this as a threat. You can take this as an opportunity. Yes, it's going to impact a lot of things. When you have to do any construction of anything, sometimes you have to break things. It's going to break a lot of things which we were aware of earlier. Things we used to see that, okay, this is the way things are running. But, just think of pandemic. I know pandemic has been tough with a lot of people, but don't you think a lot of things have changed? I was talking to one of the gentlemen who is actually, in CBIC, he's like basically in, GST department. He's actually a big chartered accountant again, one of my friend. He was saying nowadays all the meetings, even the governments, are happening on Zoom and all that kind of thing. Can you think of the things where kind of things which used to think that, oh, this is a slow way of doing things and all things, and they are adapting to technology. And good or bad, I would say a lot of things have happened because of this pandemic, where we have accelerated the adoption of digital transformation in businesses worldwide. A lot of things are going to become redundant. I'm telling you guys, just wait and watch. A lot of redundancy will come because people have started thinking. I'm actually wearing a shirt after 6 days. I think I was always in t-shirt because in our office we are a very small startup kind of thing. We are just 40 people, and we have a culture of wearing t-shirts for everything. So even our client meeting, we wear t-shirt. But okay, this was a formal meeting, so Prabhadeep would be killing me if I don't wear a shirt today. So I am just telling you, things are changing out there. There are a lot of things which are we are actually taking it for from a different perspective. In this kind of environment, one of the case study which comes to my mind very close is, I would say, Nokia's case study. Nokia was an amazing case. I don't know if you get a chance. There is a one nice TED talk by one of the ex-executive of Nokia. And that lady actually talks about what they did right and what they did wrong. I don't know, Nokia was if all of you remember when you were, maybe some of your kids, but that time there used to be, they were the smartphone, the kings of smartphone in the world. And they got acquired by Microsoft. And then Microsoft just took their patent off and then sold it off. The brand name which we see right now, Nokia, is actually not the original Nokia, it's just the brand name. And all these things happened because we didn't do anything wrong, but we lost. And that happens because of something which we call the main thing. The advantage you had yesterday will replace by the trends of tomorrow. And that's very true. I think Maitri was talking about the tipping point. The book, same author has written another book called Outlier. And she was mentioning about the 10,000 rule. That's an amazing rule, actually. Because, if you read about that, he said, Bill Gates didn't become Bill Gates just because he was lucky. Or Steve Jobs didn't become Steve Jobs just because he was lucky. They have worked very hard. And you can actually see that. Bill Gates has done, he has to become one of the richest person of the world. It's not like it's all luck. Yeah, there may be some luck, but it's actually 90% of hard work. They have worked really hard to, any of the skill you want to do for that. I know we are very excited when we become CA. I was also. And then we become very confused also. Don't you think you have this feeling? And I also know, I don't know, you guys do it or now or not, but when I'm talking about, I cleared something around 2001. And that time we used to have one small interesting competition. It used to be called as offer letter, competition. How many offer letter you have? So me and my friends we used to have one offer letter from E&Y, one offer letter from that. And then you see, okay, I did it. And you're actually still confused which company you want to join. Okay. There has to be a lot of confusion. I can understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to understand, you can't be standing, Rabindranath Tagore, he said very interesting, there is a line that you can't be standing on the, shore of ocean and think of how to cross it. You have to take the plunge out there. You have to do it. Everyone make mistake. You will make mistake. We made mistake. Everyone is. But yeah, there are going to be some guidance out there. So we need to change and improve ourselves from, make sure that you just don't be sitting on the laurel of, okay, I am a CA now. I have two horns on my head. No, it's not going to happen that way. And I think in the 21st century, it's not just the learning skill which is going to be very important. You have to unlearn a lot of things. Guys, that's going to be important. Okay? You see the things. Nokia thought, okay, whatever we have done, we have been successful with that kind of thing. So it's going to work for us. But they didn't unlearn a lot of things which has changed. Now, coming to the technology part, this is the second part of my presentation. And maybe I'll take the question in the last, maybe 10, 15 minutes. Let me just try to talk about what's changing from a perspective of chartered accountant. A lot of things is changing, guys. There are the new ABCD which has come into picture. And this is actually going to impact us very, I will not say badly, it will be actually impact us, that's all. It can be a good impact, how you take it, it may be bad. I see it as a very good impact. So what is the new ABCD which has come into picture? So I'll actually quote, this is the 4 main areas which are actually having a big impact on that. And I would request you, go back to this future of job report, search for this word. If you, I would request you to read it in case you don't have time for that, but at least go through this terminology. Automation and AI, machine learning, it's actually not anymore what you see in the movies. And, it's actually happening right now, where we are predicting frauds. You are predicting which account will go bankrupt or, become NPA. And this is all happening as we speak right now, guys. So a lot of things has happened in this area. But along with that, there is new opportunity. I'll be discussing about that. How many of you are aware of areas like nowadays, there is a kind of audit requirement of auditing algorithms. Algorithms are basically the underlying, I would say, logics which are there in the AI. Because there are biases. Humans are biased. By default, we are biased people. Blockchain, I'll be talking about that. Cyber security and control. This is big, guys. Information security. You'll say, oh, what has chartered accountant to do with that? A lot. How many of you are aware of the concept of GDPR, privacy laws? Okay. GDPR is big in Europe. We have, requirement for professionals who can understand that. There is a requirement for information systems audit. In IFCs, we have all this kind of stuff. So cybersecurity and controls are big. And last but not least, data analytics and visualization. And let me tell you, when I say data analytics, I'm not talking about stuff like Excel. Excel is taken for granted, okay? I'm talking about that organizations today think that they can get better patterns because you have access to a huge amount of data. Now, in that kind of environment, it becomes very important that we actually leverage these things. And when I'm using the word leverage, I really meant leverage from what you have learned in derivatives. Okay. And that's something has to be looked into. You see, this is one of the very interesting survey which was done by, PwC on all the CFOs, a global CFO survey they do. And they say that in the near term, automation in terms of RPA, robotic process automation, I think you would have heard about that, because if you go to our institute website, there is already a free course on how to do RPA and all the things. You should actually check it out. Today, we have a kind of a lot of impact happening in robotic process automations, and basic AI has actually done it. And blockchain is actually gaining more and more importance. But midterm, next 2 to 3 years, you are going to see that RPA is going to go down, basic and intermediate AI is going to go bigger, and blockchain is going to become the default database for everyone. And in the longer term, when I'm talking about longer term, 3 to 5 years, this is what the best brain in finance are talking about worldwide. So we need to see how we can leverage this up again. Okay. When we exploit this opportunity, a great one, always there is a first mover advantage. But what has made this happen? That is the question we should ask. Now, why can't these things would have happened 10 years back when not 10 years now, it's like 20 years, guys. Yeah, 20 years back when I became a CA. Okay. It's now feeling very old. Okay. 20 years old. Okay. But it doesn't feel like it. You can still remember those days, final, thinking about the examination result. So I am a guy who, when I'm a foundation student. So the only time I used to go to temple was, I'm from Bangalore. So I used to go to temple on my birthday when my mom used to take me for a Ganesha temple. By the time I came in CA final, I used to walk all the way to Tirupati, shave my head and all the things. So those things, these were different. But in 20 years, what has changed? The first thing which has changed, guys, and which is making all these things happen for us, is data explosion. We have a huge amount of data. You should go to data.gov.in. This is the data.gov is US, but you should go to data.gov.in. It has put so much of data out there. Today, have you noticed in GST, you just put a vehicle number and you can actually track it up. We are actually swimming in data. And that's why, sometime back, one of my team member in my office, he put a kind of a huge poster in our office. He put it up. If data is the new oil, we are the refinery, because he was actually into data analytics and all the things. That guy was amazingly good in that. So the point which I'm trying to say is there's an explosion of data. It's the new oil. And this oil, you need to refine it up and make use of that. Now, that is the one thing which has changed. The second thing, friends, which has changed drastically, which I want to bring it out, is this one. The tools and technologies. You see, this slide took me some time to make, but it's one of my favorite slides because, I have tried to put down all the open source technology tools which actually you can use in doing it. These are all open source. I call it as democratization of data. When I say democratization of data, I remember 10 years back, I used to be in Infosys, and we used to have implementation of SAS. SAS is one of the tools for statistical analysis. We used to use it. And that used to cost, something around implementation at one of the insurance company. We charged something around 3 crore rupees. Now, what was done, I did 10 years back. I know I can do that right now in an organization for a fraction of some 15-20 lakhs. Can you imagine the difference which is there? Just because you don't have to buy that expensive softwares. There are a lot of these things. A lot of people ask me question, do we need coding? Do we need to do that? Guys, we are moving to a different world. You should go and check out one word called no code, low code. No code, low code is the new mantra in technology, which means you don't require to have coding knowledge. You don't require to have any kind of technical knowledge to do this. Most of the tools what you're seeing here are low code or no code, very little coding or no coding at all. It is like, how did you used to work on Excel, drag and drop and all that kind of stuff? That's how it's working, guys. So that allows you to deal with a large volume of data, huge amount of data. Like, I use, mine is an Intel i7 octa-core system. I have an SSD of 1 terabyte and I use 2 GPU on my laptop, which I'm using right now. I can actually process around 1 terabyte of data on external hard disk, and actually I can process it overnight. Earlier, I need to have servers and all things. So now you have a power to process this large volume of data. I remember when I used to work on Goldman Sachs, we used to use a CAT tool called ACL and IDEA. You've heard about that, right? ACL and IDEA. So we used to use ACL on our SAP environment. If I put ACL and, do some analysis, so it used to be like in the night, we'll put it up there. Next day morning will come and then we'll still working. Those days are gone. Technology has advanced so fast that now you have capability to do that. You are actually able to work on this and take it forward. Okay. You can actually deal with external data. You can deal with a lot of unstructured data. When I say unstructured data, I'm talking pictures, PDFs. They are not structured. There are a lot of new statistical modeling. In fact, those models were there for last 30 years, but you couldn't actually play with them because the computing power was not there. Okay. We have new concept in AI called machine learning, which can be easily implemented, which is like basically how do you teach a kid to do that? You can do real-time analysis, guys, a more interactive visualization, and all these things are changing how we deal with them. The second thing which I want to go deep into this when I'm talking about AI and automation is machine learning. Guys, I would request you to go through it. This is going to be a game changer. Machine learnings are basically what happens is, earlier, if I have to just explain you in a very crude way, and I'm sure a couple of you would have done programming in your college or school, we used to be taught like, first think logically, write the program, then connect the program to the data, and then you will get the output, right? Now it is becoming ulta. Now you don't have to write the codes. You just put the data there and let the computer make the codes. So the coding would be done, if I have to explain you in a very, very crude way, the coding would be done by whom? By the machine itself. And that is already happening. If you want to know more about that, there is a very nice documentary on AlphaGo. You should actually go onto the web and check out this on AlphaGo, because that is one of the area where Google has actually shown it that how you can use machine learning and very low cost, tools to be able to get better output for the organizations. Okay, so it's actually amazing out there. Okay, and when we have all this kind of thing, analytics and all thing, data analytics also, which is another thing which is linked with a lot of this AI, is it can answer a lot of questions for organizations. And as Maitri was saying, we have to show the smart work is all about adding value. If we are able to add value to the organizations, if we can say that, hey, you know what, we know this stuff and this can be done, organizations are really looking for it. I was talking to one of my friend. She's now she has the internal audit function at Goldman Sachs in India, Monica Lim, and Monica was telling me that right now they are hiring on an average, 10 to 1, which means if they're hiring 10 people for data analytics, one person will be for regular audit in the audit function. Can you imagine that? It's like 10 to 1 is like pretty interesting. So that's something which is changing. So it's going to be a requirement for an hybrid auditor, a person who can understand all of these things. So hindsight, what happened, insight, what is happening, what is the problem, and what are the kind of action needed on that, and foresight of how we can actually deal with that in a better way. Okay. And the last part which is there is on cyber security before I go to blockchain, because Pradeep asked me to go a little deep on blockchain. So I'll actually have maybe a few more slides on that. But cyber security is another area, guys, which is actually picking up, because information systems are running the businesses. Let it be transfer pricing, any of the things we are going to do it's all going to be doing that. Can I be sure about the integrity of data? Can I be sure about this data is all working fine? You require some kind of assurance, and that basic assurance can be given by us as chartered accountant. And that something is what we have to talk about. And the fourth B, which was their blockchain. Blockchain is amazing point. I'm telling you, it's an interesting piece of technology. It's going to have a lot more use in time to come. You just wait and watch. We have been doing a lot of POCs on that, and I am really happy, and I can see that is going to what kind of impact is going to come. In fact, if you read one of the nice article which is Joy Ito has written on Harvard Business Review, he said the disruption has begun and blockchain will do to the financial system what internet did to media. You remember, because internet became so prevalent, we had a kind of environment where we can change what we call it as, or we can actually be sure about how things are you are consuming. Right now I am having Netflix, I'm having an Amazon thing, Amazon Prime connection. I'm not consuming that how I used to consume earlier with the set-top box and all that thing. It is because I can choose what I want to watch, what kind of content I want to consume, and that's what it is doing. Now, I hope you remember this. I just wanted to make us, it was a short presentation. I wanted to keep it fast. So I have just thought of what would be the best way of explaining you this concept of blockchain. I don't know how many of you have done manual books of account, but I'm sure a lot of people would have seen this manual ledgers which used to be there. Can you see there's something which is we have a brought forward, carry forward, this carry forward became brought forward out here. This used to be a way of checking the integrity of data. And I remember when we used to audit, we used to basically ask them, hey, you know what, can we check all these things? And we used to check the page number 52. After 52, it should be 53 only. This used to be an audit procedure long back. I'm sure a lot of you who have worked on Tally would have not even seen this up. But, before SAP and all things, this is the way things used to move. Now, here, what happens is blockchain, if we have to understand, I will just try to get a very simple way of dealing with that. A blockchain is nothing but, just for your perspective, and timestamp append only log. Now, reason is you would have heard about database like Oracle database. You have MS SQL, MySQL, and all things. People don't understand that database are not 100% secure. You can tamper with them. Think of a database which is first timestamp, which means it is using cryptography in such a way that once it is timestamped and that entry has happened, we have an audit trail. No one can tamper with that. And this is an auditable database which is tamper resistance and the integrity is there. It is using for every block, which is like you can imagine a page in the ledger. It is using a kind of cryptography out there, which is digitally signing it up. Imagine for a moment out there. And it has a distributed copy. I'm sure all of you have used torrent some point of time. Now it's illegal in India. But if you have used torrents, it's like you have a multiple copy of the torrent everywhere. Now that is exactly what the consensus protocol does for them. So if I have to actually tell you in a very layman language, I can share you more material on that. But think of blockchain as a append-only log, an auditable database which can be copied with multiple stakeholders. Which means, what is the fundamental problem with double entry systems of bookkeeping? It used to be reconciliation. The reason is very simple. Today, interbank reconciliation, insurance company reconciliation, there are so much of things happens. And you can go in any organization, they will be spending a lot of effort, time and all that, because there is no single source of truth. In X and in the books of X, I'll part an entry this way. In the books of Y, I'll pass an entry like that. They're not single source of truth. Imagine a triple entry system of bookkeeping where what I do is there is an entry in the books of X, there is an entry in the books of Y, and there is an entry in the books of blockchain, which is validated. It is auditable database. Everyone who is members have a consensus protocol, and it cannot be tampered with. Why it cannot be tampered with? There is a reason for that. Let me show you the reason why it is. It is built in a model like this. Every block, imagine like we used to have tables in databases and all things. Now we have blocks, and each block is numbered and it is cryptographically put out there. If you try to tamper something on 74, it will say, hey, everything after that will become bad. So you can't tamper with it. So you can try to tamper with it, but if you do it, I have an audit trail on that. Now, one of the key things which we need to understand, and that is more important than understanding this, is where does it come from? A lot of people knows crypto. Have you heard of Dogecoin and Elon Musk right now? How many of you have bought some of the Dogecoin? Anyone has bought it? No? So it's interesting. You should follow Elon Musk right now. He's coming in SNL also. It's going to be fun. So Bitcoin was the first crypto we all know about. It came in 2008. So people were not so interested in crypto. They were interested in how you're keeping the track, or where are you maintaining the ledger for the crypto. How many money was transferred from one place to other. Now that's how Bitcoin started in May to October 2008. But the first interest in blockchain started from 2014. People said this is a very interesting way of keeping the financial data or non-financial data, and that's the reason in July Ethereum project was launched. And by September, major financial companies, they have gone to R3 Corda, which is actually a kind of consortium of more than 40 institutions which are making private blockchain. There are public blockchain, private blockchain, and all that kind of thing. And most interestingly, today we are seeing more and more banking and financial services companies going into that. And not just financial services. If you go to Ghana, they are maintaining their complete, what we call it as records of which cannot be tampered with, which is their land records on blockchain. So these are the things where we are seeing an amazing change. And this is going to be there for a long, long time. If you want to read more about that, I would request you to go to one site called State of the dApps. Okay, maybe I can just show it to you. State of the dApps is basically having live, just like so. dApps stand for basically decentralized applications, and one of the best thing about this is decentralized. And you can read about all of that things. What are the things they are making it for liquidity? They are making it for cryptocurrency influential group. They are making it for even voting, and these numbers are increasing day by day. So they are all using blockchains for multiple use cases and all that. So friends, the idea is blockchain. In fact, there are a lot of people say one very interesting statement. I really like that, which is something like they say, a blockchain is like a solution searching for problem. And I'm sure all of you, once you understand that, you will be actually very excited to see where you can apply it. So this is some of the ABCD which is there, friends. Just to summarize what I discussed it up, I just want to tell you the future of work is disruptive. And when I say disruption is neither bad, neither good. It's actually how you see it, what perspective you bring into the table. The perspective which we bring to the table help us see the bigger picture. And that's something which we need to do that. And as future professionals, I'm sure you can actually take, a lot of input on this and try to mold your paths, accordingly. Because whether we like it or not, the world around us is changing. And this time when it's changing much, much faster, friends. So that's all from my side. Professor, over to you.
Thank you so much for your quick insights in the topic. We have many questions, but as we will pick one where I think around 10 of the participants have asked that there's a confusion on whether these emerging technologies or career in these, or how well we can prepare for it, is whether this is our work or it's an engineer's work. Like how to find out a balance and an answer to this problem.
Okay, that's an amazing question. So, okay. So guys, first let me tell you one thing. How many of you know that there are a lot of engineers doing information systems audit right now? If you go and check out membership of ISACA, there are 130,000 CISAs worldwide, Certified Information Systems Auditor. And you will be shocked to know that out of 130,000 plus professional who are certified professional, I'm not talking pass out, you'll be noticing that it's around 90,000 are basically, and I'm talking worldwide, so it's a big demand here, you can understand that. 90,000 are engineers. Now, if engineers can come and do our work, what's stopping us from doing it other things? But anyway, it's just an analogy I'm trying to do it. When I was in Infosys, I used to had the ERMS practice for India, Enterprise Risk Management Services. And we used to have a lot of chart accountants, which we used to do one stuff, which is, I don't know how many of you are aware of that, SOD reviews, segregation of duties reviews on SAP. Now, I remember there was one chart accountant, she come to me and said, the kind of work we are doing is so much technical. We have to just see the roles in SAP. We have to understand the role. We need to know how the role has been designed and all things. And does it going to add a value for us? Now, the same lady actually heads, one of the internal audit function of one of the MNC. Now, the point which I'm trying to say here is, if you don't get your hands dirty, this is one of the biggest thing I see out there. We don't have a research-based mindset. We have a mindset that, do I have a checklist and am I doing it out there? Guys, please understand one thing. There is one important thing. In our CA examination, we learned something called Black-Scholes model in your CA final. Do you think you remembering Black-Scholes model really is any use? It's bullshit, actually, to be honest. You know why? Because in Goldman Sachs, all these models are there in hundreds of our application. We are using it on a daily basis. It's all automated. It's actually working out there. So just like, application of that becomes important. We have to get our hands dirty. We need to get our understanding of it. And let me tell you one thing. It's not tough, guys. You have to have an open mind. You have learned so many things. You have learned derivatives. You have learned so many of this. And, I always used to have this joke. Please don't take it otherwise. So let me ask you one question. You're all fresh to pass out. Let me ask you a question. Can you tell me how many call option and how many put options are there in a butterfly spread? You remember butterfly spread was there in CA final? Now people are going to tell me someone will say 2, someone say 2 plus 2. But if I ask the concept behind that, it's going to be tough. The reason I'm telling you, I used to work for Goldman Sachs and we were in audit. And my boss used to tell me, he was, Paul Wong, he was actually a Hong Kong national. And Paul used to tell us all the time, he used to say that in this whole world, at any point of time, there are maybe 15,000 people who understand derivatives end to end properly. These are complex things, people. And as you rightly said, Maitri was telling you, unless you get your hand dirty, you will not even understand that. Think of this. One of the others, I'm sure many of you would have heard about this one professional course called CFA, right? And how many of you are aware of that? In that revised syllabus of CFA, they have a 100 marks question on artificial intelligence. It's not that they want them to be knowing as engineers. The reason is the world is changing. What we have to learn, we need to learn about. That's what I'm trying to say. And my point is that today, all this, learning part is easier. It's not an engineer's job. This is actually a thought process which we are actually not understanding. Because our jobs is anyway going away. We have to take it to the other jobs which are there. And that is how we can actually look into that. You saw in the report only. Third point was accountant and auditors, right? It's shocking, guys. Out of 20, we are number 3. So we need to think of that. I hope that answers your question, Professor.
Yeah. I told you that there is a question regarding the resources and the learning as you are associated with digital or DAB. And so many courses you are a faculty in. So if you can again, throw a light on the knowledge which they can gain from our resources, which are available on Digital Learning Hub or through specific certificate courses or executive programs, and also some insights on what they can do further to learn from other courses or another resources available.
Great. I would say not just our institute, like, DAB has an amazing set of things, which is on our institute website only. And I was very surprised. The RPA course, they just made it live for everyone to just go and do it. It's a very interesting thing. It's a good way of institute looking at that. And it's a capacity building, because we need to have all this capacity and all the things. But there are a lot of resources, as Pravati said. We have blockchain, we have courses on, RPA, we have courses on data analytics, we have courses on NIME. I really love that course on NIME. It's actually an amazing data analytics course, which even teach you how to do artificial intelligence and machine learning on that. So there are a lot of things which is there. And again, I will tell you, most of the things are done by chartered accountant. They are not engineers, no engineer. There are some engineers who come on the board. Like Prabhadeep knows very well, we have kind of a mixed faculty. But the point is that there are chartered accountants also doing it up there. And on top of that, I will tell you, if you want to learn, there are so much of material. Something which I would, ask you to do, if you can actually get it, make it a habit of on a weekly basis. If you can attend 3 to 4 webinars, you can just Google it out and just say the webinar. There's so much of information lying out there. It just requires an open mind and do it. And get your hand dirty. You can play around with all of these things, what we are actually talking about. So these resources are there, and feel free afterwards also, if you want to contact me on the detail, I can actually share you on. It's no problem.
Yeah. Anand, there have been many questions. If we talk about the subject technology on where to start in a career, right? You have worked in Infosys, so today also there are almost 40 questions in it that where to start, and I'm combining 4 or 5 questions.
Sure.
Where we become ERP consultant, a functional consultant. That is one thing which we are into jobs since many years. Then
right.
Now the other thing is regarding the emerging technologies, right? And the things are changing. Then there are doubts regarding whether all the processes are getting automated, that how much is getting automated.
Right.
So if you can combine this from a technology aspect on the jobs which are there since many years, and how you can start in that field, and how you can start in an emerging field, and how we can overcome these challenges what are coming in.
Got it, sir. I think it's a very relevant question, Professor. So my point of view, if I have to restart, let's say, for example, I'm a chartered accountant and I have to restart, and based on what I understand so far, I would actually do is, I would like to go for a kind of a mid-level firm or organizations where I can experiment it up. I'm actually telling you one more thing which I have really learned. I'm sure you have attended a lot of session on design thinking and all the things. And I was actually, I'm a person who like to tinker with things and all things. And I learned one very interesting thing, that we have to have a research-based mindset. There are a lot of organizations. In fact, Infosys is an amazing organization. It gave a lot of opportunity to me when I was actually working. But what happens is, many of the large organizations will not take you unless you have some skills. That is one of the, thing, chicken and egg story, which is there. So the easiest thing is to do is, don't worry about the designation, what your friends are doing, oh, my friend has got a kind of, I still remember this used to happen when in 2000, 2001, if you remember, there used to be a dot-com boom, and then the BPO boom started in Bangalore. So we were actually writing CA examination, and Prabhadeep sir, you remember how much was your articleship stipend? How much you used to get? Are you remembering that?
Yeah, it was below 1,000 rupees.
Oh my God, we had 450 rupees. I did it from a small and medium firm in Bangalore. And then I used to see my friends who have done their BCom and doesn't know anything, don't even can pass a proper entry, are getting job of 30,000, 40,000 bucks in that. I used to think, oh my God, this is going to be like what I'm doing in my life and all that kind of thing. But I know where I am right now today and where they are today. There is a lot difference. So don't go for a short-term benefit. That's the kind of thing. We have what we call as the millennials are known as like now generation. I want everything now. No, guys, it's going to take some time. You remember, I think Maitri has amazingly told the 10,000 hour rules. You have to give 10,000 to at least understand that. It's a big thing. I tell myself I'm always a learning scholar on this because so much of there is to learn. I'm actually right now reading a report because I have to make a presentation to one of our client where he's talking about what can we do on cryptographic quantum cryptography, because I don't know if you know that most of the algorithms are going to go, rump after 2023. So there are going to be a lot of requirement of that kind of thing. So there are so much of stuff to learn out there, and they are all related to business. And when I talk about this, as chartered accountant, if you see our subjects also, we are called chartered accountants. Yes, it's related to accountant, but are we seeing this or not? If you see BSE 500, there was a report in Economic Time recently which says in BSE 500 there are more than 30 chartered accountant who are there. And just 5 days back, I just got one very interesting thing that 40 below fit 40 in India. Economics Time published a list, and there were 3 chartered accountants, and none of them are doing the regular chartered accountant work. Some of them are like boat is there. So I'm just telling you, you find your own area of interest. You should be knowing it. There may be a lot of people who may not find technology as that creative. It is fine. Even if you go in GST also, you can actually use technology out there. My point is that it's going to transform it. You're going into transfer pricing. There also you have to use technology. Be having an open mindset out there. That's the only point which I'm trying to say. Or you can come in the core area of technology, or what we call as a techno-functional person out there.
Yeah, you touched upon the salary, stipend and salaries. There's a question where it's being asked that can CA become a millionaire?
Why not? Come on, do you? Okay, I can actually tell you 3 names right now who are millionaires, and in fact, if there is income tax rate, they will get more than that. Actually, they are bigger than that. I would say that I have not recorded it, but I'm just telling you they're public figure. I don't know if you know Boat, the brand which is there of earphone. It's actually one of the brand which is owned by CA. I don't know if you know a company called SISA, SISA. You can check it out, the name. This company is owned by Darshan Shantamurthy, a good friend of mine, and they are the biggest PCI DSS service provider in Asia Pac. Like there's no one bigger than them in Asia Pac. That's so big. A lot of people who can do it, but is money everything, guys? That's a point which I would also ask you. It's sometimes you have to see what you want in that. Yeah, if you would like to have, you are focused to get money. I think that's something which can come. I think there is a book, right? This How to Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually some very old book. I have heard the audiobooks long back, and that says that whatever money you want, you can write it down and you can plan for that. It's possible, but there are more than money which you can actually think of. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Why not?
Thank you so much. I would like to tell the participants that many of the questions will get answered in the coming sessions. Also, there is a special session on 12th with regard to the technology. If there are many questions which are left out, it will surely be answered in that a 15-minute session. And tomorrow we have 2 wonderful sessions on how to succeed in corporate journey and your self-assessment for career planning. Like many of the questions which you have asked today, will be answered in the sessions tomorrow. Thank you to CA Maitri and CA Anand for the wonderful sessions. And before we say goodbye, I pass on to Mr. Ranganathan's any messages, and then we can say goodbye.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hearty word of thanks to you that you are very nicely talked about the emerging technologies, the impact on the profession, and how it's necessary for the young CS to embrace technology. We are sure the young CS would have been greatly benefited by your views and answers to the questions, which are very ably handled. In fact, I see very fortunate to be associating with you for a very long number of years.
Yes, sir.
And we have met on many occasions in ICAI,
Yes, sir.
in the headquarters. We request the participants to attend the complete program of all the 6 days. And we also request them that please request your friends and batchmates also to view this program and benefit. And believe us, what the experts are bringing on the table is something which you have not studied in your CA curriculum. This is life experiences. This will stand you in good stead in your career. And one more important thing which Mr. Anand Jangirji had said, ICAI imparts education on varied number of subjects, including blockchain, technology, and so many subjects. We have more than 1 million hours of continuing professional education to offer to our members every year. But the precondition is you must be a member of the institute. So although some of you who have not taken the membership, please obtain membership of the institute and get benefited. Institute is at your doorstep in case you are a member. Thank you so very much for a wonderful session, and see you all in larger numbers tomorrow. Today we had number more than 1200, sir, but we want more number of people to come. Maybe tomorrow is Sunday, we are expecting more people. So we'll once again send a mass mail to all of you. We'll bother by sending mails to you every day along with the link. Please do join us. Tell your friends and batchmates also to join. It's a very wonderful program. Thank you so much, Mr. Jangir. And thank you, Madam Maitri, ma'am. Thank you very much to you too.
Yes, and many have been asking if recording will be available. Yes, recording would be there, but the benefit of attending a live session is different. So therefore, make use of it and go on multiple times and see the recordings later. So thank you to.
The same link is applicable to you. The same link will be alive for a month. You go to the link and you can watch any program. Same link that we are today.
Yeah. Also on YouTube, it would be available. And thank you to our chairman, Hansraj Chuk sir, our vice chairman, Durgesh Kabra sir, Central Council members, for their vision in developing this program. And as Ranganathan ji said, that we want more and more of you to take benefit from these expert faculties. You have sent number of messages, almost 50 messages of appreciation have come regarding the wonderful session by Maitri ma'am and you. And thank you so much for this encouragement, and help us to be encouraged more with your active participation as you had today. So stay safe, take care. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.